open this meeting, for this is the Wednesday, November 13th, Kensington Town Council meeting, and we'll start with the call to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a moment of silence. Is there anyone we should mention tonight that we would like to remember in our thoughts and prayers? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands. If we could just bow our heads for a moment. Okay, thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Council, you received 3 sets of minutes. We'll start with the October 10th. I did not see any edits via email, so I'm assuming everybody was okay, but if you have a edit, you can certainly bring it up. Okay, if we can get a motion to approve the October 10th Town Council meeting minutes.
I'll move to approve the October 10th Town Council minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Council, you also received minutes for our closed session on October 10th to consult with our attorney. If we can get a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll move to approve the October 10th closed session minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, we had a special town council meeting again to consult with our attorney for the October 21st. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the October 21st special session minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move down. First item on the agenda is Joseph Park. I'm assuming everybody here is probably for that. I just want to remind everybody that this is kind of the obtainable housing, kind of a listening session. So this is not a hearing. So, but we do want to hear from residents on their thoughts about this. Before we get started, Matt's going to do a little presentation so we know what areas we're talking about. Okay, Matt?
I will wait till Alex gets that up on the screen for everyone.
Okay.
Okay. Council, at the October meeting, staff asked the council to consider possibly selling Joseph Park, which is located at 3420 Pliers Mill Road. It's at the intersection of Pliers Mill Road and Wheatley Street. It's a 7,500 square foot residentially zoned lot. The property we had appraised back in 2023, just for informational purposes. The appraisal came back at $450,000. Some of the items that were listed within the appraisal was that the subject site encompasses a single tax parcel that contains just under a fifth of an acre or 7,500 square feet, which is fairly similar to most residential properties in the community. The site is at the southwest corner of the intersection of Pliers Mill and Wheatley, so it's marketable for a residential property. The property is zoned R60, as we mentioned, that favors detached single-family development. The site is currently used as Joseph Park and is mostly cleared, level, and ready for development with public access and utilities on the site. And the property should be well suited for development with a detached single-family dwelling. Within the actual property, this next slide kind of shows an aerial of the property. In addition to the block, as you can see, it's a corner lot. The town acquired the lot in 1956 through a deed. The town paid $10 for the property. The property currently has 10 trees. We have had the trees evaluated by our arborist. It includes 3 ash trees, 2 walnut trees, a cedar, and 2 yews. For comparison's sakes, on the next slide, Alex. That's fine. The confronting property, which is located at 10549 St. Paul Street, is also 7,500 square feet. The property was platted as a residential property, as the same square footage of 7,500 square feet. And you'll notice that that property was built in 1888 prior to the incorporation of the town in 1894. So this property was platted out to be a residential lot. In comparison to other parks within the town, you'll notice that the square footage is not comparable. Ernest Memorial Park, which is adjacent to the intersection of Armory and Baltimore and adjacent to Connecticut Avenue, has a square footage of 12,100 square feet. It is also next to three residential properties that the town keeps clear that encompasses an additional 30,000 square feet for open space. Lynn Park, which is across from the post office, is more than double the size of Joseph Park at almost 16,000 square feet. Reinhardt Park, which is adjacent to Town Hall and has a playground equipment, has 31,562 square feet. Clem Kennedy Park, which is at the intersection of Kensington Parkway and Frederick Avenue, is just over 83,000 square feet. And St. Paul Park, which is our largest park and encompasses many amenities, is 140,000 square feet. St. Paul Park and Howard Avenue Park, which is technically not a park. We designate it as a park. It's actually public right of way. It was dedicated for public use by the Prevention of Blindness during a streetscape project in the early 2000s. So although we define it as a park, it's actually public right of way. The staff is asking council to consider the sale of Joseph Park for a couple of reasons. The primary is that we recently acquired 10528 St. Paul Street. This is directly adjacent to St. Paul Park. We closed on the property on Friday, November 1st. We acquired the property for $1,010,000. This will be the future site of a public works facility. We will need to find a new location for our public works facility because our existing location on DuPont Avenue will be taken by Montgomery County for the Summit Avenue Extended project. Right now, they're anticipating that project will be completed by 2032. This property alone will not be able to handle our public works facility. We will need additional land. So we were looking to acquire one of the Pepco properties next to it, which is highlighted in that picture. That is one of the properties we're looking to acquire very soon. We had an appraisal done of that property in 2023. It was appraised for $475,000. The square footage, you'll notice, is larger than Joseph Park at 10,599 square feet. Any funds that we would receive from Joseph Park, if the council decides to move forward and approves an ordinance for this, would go into the town's capital improvement plan within our CIP, specifically within the property acquisition fund. These funds would be directly used to acquire additional property in the town, specifically property adjacent to the public works facility that would allow us to expand facility and equipment in St. Paul Park in addition to our public works facility. The property acquisition fund currently has $452,968.40 following the acquisition of 10528 St. Paul Street a couple weeks ago. There's a number of additional properties that the town is looking for that would replace Joseph Park as green space within the town. One of them is located at 10415 Montgomery Avenue. This is the M&T drive-through bank property. We are looking at this as a public parking option within the business district. If we are able to obtain that property, there would be some greenery improvements to the property in addition to the parking. We're looking at a property at 10800 St. Paul Street. This is at the intersection of St. Paul Street and Decatur. Currently, there's a 50-foot right-of-way where Madison Street was not continued to connect onto St. Paul Street. The property there, if acquired by the town, would allow us to address some stormwater management concerns in that area where we're having some flooding. Would also allow us to basically incorporate more green space and potentially a park where we don't have one. Another property we're looking to acquire, we've had conversations with the Kensington Crossroads HOA. They own some land on the west side of Silver Creek that we have had discussions about acquiring. If we're able to acquire that, we would be able to plant trees, address some stormwater management issues in that area. That location is not buildable. It's in the Montgomery County floodplain. So that would be a good get for the town because we'd be able to address a couple problems there.
Matt, this is the property that extends between Oberon and Flyers Mill.
It's a little hard, but the picture on the right, that is the area west of Silver Creek that is owned by the HOA. So just an overview of some of the other properties that we are looking to acquire in addition to the Pepco property. that would allow us to expand our green space that would offset the sale of Joseph Park, or again, 10415 Montgomery Avenue. Again, now that would potentially be public parking, but there would be some greening of that location, and would allow us to potentially do something with the existing town parking lot on the south side of the tracks. In the future, obviously, there's 10800 St. Paul, which would address stormwater issues in that area. And again, we'd be able to incorporate that with the existing 50-foot right-of-way to create basically a park, which we don't have now. And then the Kensington Crossing area would be the same thing. Would be an expansion of green space and allow us to plant trees where we're not able to currently, and create a park-like atmosphere adjacent to the creek.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and this is a listening session for us. So we're going to go ahead and ask for questions. Two things. You have a question, raise your hand. You have to go to the podium. Just state your name and your street. You don't have to give the full address, just say what street you're on. Okay, so let's get started. Questions? Comments? Okay, just go up to the podium and give your name, full name, and your street. We can. You can lower the mic a little bit. Yeah, just pull it down. Well, maybe.
As much as I could. So my name is Alicia Toledano, married name Schechter, and I live at 10606 Wheatley Street. And my dog and I do sometimes visit Joseph Park. A couple of questions that I have. One is, why didn't you mention anything about the historical significance of the park?
So it's not.
Go ahead.
Okay. So it's not a historical property. And we did receive an email today clarifying from Julie O'Malley, who used to be the president of the Kensington Historical Society, stating that the park was named Joseph Park basically to honor a park that was in the area, but it had no significance to the exact or specific lot.
Really? Because I just printed out from the Kensington Historical Society today. It is an historic landmark of the origins of English settlements in the area.
Well, I think
So-
that's a landmark. It doesn't mean the property.
Yes,
was
that doesn't mean it's on a
Because it was-
historical
the whole
register.
area was.
But I did ask about historical significance.
Right.
And it would have been nice to mention that. The second thing is, why didn't we get earlier notice? Because I got in the mail yesterday, and some people got theirs today, a postcard mailed on Friday of a long weekend. You knew about this since October 10th. We didn't receive any information until November 7th, the day after I posted on the Kensington Town listserv asking for more information. This is the Kensington Around Town Journal. We got this a few days ago. This session is not an event. It has to do with the town. It's on page 7. So when you see page 7, you see mumbo jumbo, resolution, 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 resolution. It's not really mumbo jumbo. It is quite important. So it starts with approving the September town minutes and then announcing a public comment session and then holding a closed session. So if you paid attention and read the whole thing and got it in time, you would have known. And if you'd been to the October 10th council meeting, you would have known. But as of 6 o'clock today, the minutes from that meeting were not yet posted. Of course, they were just approved, so it's not expected that they would be posted. But I'm remembering back to spring of 2023, where on March 13th, we had a public comment session for which we were provided information ahead of time. And following the public comment session on March 13th, on April 10th, was the meeting about Joseph's Park. So there was really a lot of time for the town to reach out to people in the area and in Kensington in general. And I'm just wondering why that wasn't really done.
So there was a delay. Staff got behind on a number of issues. This is not a public forum. This is a public comment process. This is the second public comment we've had on this, including the March meeting in 2023. Like I said, there was a delay by staff. It was an oversight on our staff. And, but we did get the information out. And if we were to move forward, there would be a formal public hearing, which would be mailed to everyone in a more formal process.
That would be great. Thank you. So the March 13th meeting, 2023, and this meeting, these are
This is
two
now the
meetings.
second public meeting that we've held. It is not a formal public hearing. If the council decides to move forward with an ordinance, that would be the formal and required public hearing.
And that's a 3-month process.
No.
Great.
Just
Thank
so you know, there's an introduction, then there's a hearing, and then there's the council will vote on it. So it's a much longer period of time.
And I'd love to give other people a chance to ask questions, but since you mentioned the March 2023 as being the first public comment session, how was the feedback? Were people in favor, against, didn't care?
I think it was a mix of both.
And also just for the record, because I was going back through information prior to this meeting and after last month's meeting. Matt, I believe that there was a formal notice that went out to residents in around March 1st, 2023. Because
Correct.
you did do
Yeah.
an on-site meeting.
And I
I
think
was-
that meeting was
2023.
meant for the north.
2023, yeah.
The
Right,
north side.
2023 we had, so that's great. March 1st, we got information. March 13th, we met in the park to talk. April 10th was this meeting. So it's quite different from
Yes.
getting the recent information, having a 6:30 public comment session that started at 6:40, but thank you for that presentation. It's very informative. And I don't know, when I look at the minutes, I don't really see a balance in April of for against middle of the road, but I think that's a matter for the minutes and those can speak for themselves. So
I'd like to just add two, because you asked one question. One is just a point. Just one other way that the information went out. You were really kind, Alicia, to point out the minutes that are in the town journal. That same set of minutes, if you have signed up for our electronic newsletter from the town, it goes out the very next day after our council meeting. So you would have had it, whatever that was, a month ago.
okay, so I should have signed up for that earlier, but
Oh, I hope you do, because we put a lot of, this is another way of saying the Kensington Town listserv is not
Well, that's
run by
right.
the town.
that's right.
So we don't always push official town information through the listserv. Some of us try and work to add it to the listserv. I know Darren responded to some comments about this issue.
Yes.
But the what do you call it? E-blast newsletters that go out, if you just go to the town's website and put your email address in, our official communications go out through that. This was in that.
Okay, so if somebody is signed up,
Mhm.
they would have received that.
Yes,
Okay,
but to your
that's good,
question, I was
but
on.
I did sign up now.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I was at the onsite meeting back in March, and I think there was both people who, had comments and questions about the why, the
Mhm.
process was part of it. Why has this come up and why are we considering it? And, is there a stated purpose? There's been some on the listserv and others of like tying it to, oh, they just want to sell it to build a parking lot, which is like the lyrics of a bad 90s song. I think what we asked Matt to do was this kind of presentation to show you there's a very big strategic picture of opportunities that the town has that we would love to do over a decade, but they all seem to be coming right now, right? We have to move a public works building. Other things that are not necessarily directly in this briefing, but when we move that public works building and Summit Avenue gets built, we have the opportunity to use that land with the county where our current, but soon to be former public works building is, to build a park between the borders of Kensington and Kengar, to put green space where there is no green space currently. There's a lot of these pieces that are moving. The other reality is whether we sell it or whether we don't, this amount of money doesn't cover all of the things we're doing. But we're trying to be as transparent to residents as possible about all of the different strategic things the town is looking at for what we believe is in the best interest of the town for the next 2, 3, 4 decades, right? How do we put green space where we don't have green space currently, whether it's parks, to alleviate flooding, to create more just green space and preserve. We want to put more tree canopy into areas where there just currently isn't tree canopy. This is one possible option. The staff asked us to look at it as hey, how do we look at our current assets and resources and the money is needed to do it? When we go to do some of these things later, other discussions are gonna be when how do we go pay for these things? This doesn't pay for all of it.
Right.
Do we take on debt service? Do we raise taxes? I'm just pointing out the reality that we're gonna have to have those discussions too.
Okay,
But-
but for tonight, this is a public comment, so I really would like to let other people who came give their
I-
comment. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
Thank
we
you.
try to answer your question.
Go ahead, up front. And for those online, we will get to you as well.
Hi, my name is Rachel Leffler. I actually live directly across from the park. My big question is, traffic. What is going to be addressed about the traffic? Whatever happens to it. Right now, I think it needs to become a four-way stop because people do not, really acknowledge the speed bumps when they come down from Georgia. There is a little sign there that says stop for pedestrians, but it is kind of hidden because of the medium.
So you're talking about at Wheatley and
And
Flyers
Flyers
Mill?
Mill, yeah, because right there, and then the traffic really does get backed up once it starts backing up from Connecticut and it kind of like trickles all the way down.
Right.
And there's buses that come through there and it's very busy. So my question is, if whatever happens, how can we address the traffic? Because my concern is even if you're walking your dog, people don't recognize to stop you and they just keep going. Now, when you have Metropolitan, there's that stop, the
flashing light.
flashing light. That's great. That is very busy. But I do think whatever happens with this property, that does need to be addressed because it is a very walkable area and people are walking their dogs, their children and all kinds of stuff. That's just my comment. And that's all I'm asking is what we're going to do.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Get that on your MTC list. Yeah.
Good evening, one and all. My name is Jamie Keller. I live on Summit Avenue, West Side. First off, I want to thank mayor, council members, and staff for soliciting feedback. It's an important part of any government process, so thank you for listening and jotting down notes. But, Councilmember Prince, I have a bone to pick with you.
Sure.
It's not a crappy 90s song. It's a great 70s song.
That's true.
Joni Mitchell, 1970, penned a piece entitled Big Yellow Taxi. They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. And that's exactly what y'all seem to be proposing. There's another lyric in that song. You don't know what you got till it's gone. You know, it's a lovely little treed lot. You know, it's not the greatest park I've ever been to, but it's a net positive. You know, it is, you know, you're talking about, you know, selling a park to build a parking lot and then in that parking lot planting a couple trees. Come on now. You know, yes, you can put a couple trees in the parking lot, but that's not a vacant lot. There's also, you know, no clear intention for the proceeds. So I appreciate you all, you know, putting some of those on the big board. I also know that don't know that there's a clear need. You know, if it's not dedicated, if you're not saying we need X amount of dollars for project Y, you know, it seems like kind of just a cash grab. So that is a major red flag for me. Yeah, the park is a benefit as is, but it can be improved. And I would encourage you all to investigate that. Some, you know, low impact, low cost, or, you know, potentially higher costs, you know, options. I would encourage you all to solicit feedback, you know, for that route as well. You know, I spent my 20 minutes thinking about what could go there. First thought was a pump track, a nice little scooter and bike. Kids go round and round, but, you know, then I looked at, you know, where the trees lie and that might not work. Then I was listening to the Joni Mitchell song and thinking about the DDC and our beloved birds and our bees. So I was thinking a pollinator garden might be a wonderful addition to the town. You know, it's a small lot, so there's a limit to what you can do. But the thing with pollinators is they need pollen, believe it or not, and they can go relatively, you know, short distances between you know, their habitats. So even a small pollinator garden would have benefits for the entire area. So another idea, a community garden. We're fortunate. Many folks here probably have a little backyard and have your little tomatoes and your peppers. Not everybody has that opportunity, for our apartment dwellers amongst us, that would be a solid community benefit. Or, some combination thereof, whether it's a community garden, pollinator garden. And that can actually be a, revenue neutral or revenue positive addition. So just some ideas, and I would encourage you to solicit others here and on the machine. In closing, I would encourage you all to go home and fire up Big Yellow Taxi, the original version, not the crappy Amy Grant version or the Cramming Crows version, although they both have merits. And ask yourself one important question. What would Joni do?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Leslie Olson, Wheatley Street. I had actually written something to the listserv to the Kensington Historical Society and also to the mayor and town council. So I hope everyone had a chance to look at that. It does reference the park as being the last undeveloped parcel to Joseph Park, and all the homes in that area were part of Joseph Park. And I kind of detailed how the land was given to one person, he divided it up, gave it to his sons, etc. And this was one remaining undeveloped portion from that. So it has significance to the town, and that's all from records that are posted by.
I think when that was
Kensington,
written, we had not annexed the north side because it now includes 3 additional parcels plus the one that we're looking at for stormwater. So that's
when-
4.
Okay, when was the annex?
The annex was what,
2018.
18? Yeah,
Oh, no, I don't think this was written that long ago, but anyway,
okay.
it was in one of the walking tour guides, so it couldn't.
Well,
have
the
been that
walking
long,
tour's been around for a really long time.
but not 1800s.
No, 2018 is when we
Oh,
annexed.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
All right, well, that could be.
yeah. And then
Um,
there's the one on Woody. That's still not developed as well. The residential lot between the house at the corner of Wheatley and Oberon on the other side. So that one, there's a lot there.
On Wheatley between Metropolitan? and-
No,
Between
yeah,
Stephanie's old house and the Foxes, that's an undeveloped.
that's an undeveloped lot.
Oh. I don't
No,
know.
it doesn't belong to town, but it's an undeveloped lot. We don't own the ones in the annexed area either, but I'm just saying there are undeveloped lots on the north side.
But this one we have control over.
Okay.
And so anyway, I'm opposed to the sell because I think that if you were at the point of actually needing it, then perhaps that would be the point when the council would come and ask if this was a doable thing. Right now, it's speculative. And once it's gone, it's gone. And I appreciate all the water treatment programs that you have. That's basic maintenance. A lot of it was known when the part of the town was annexed. My question about the zoning, what are the parks zoned?
60
R60? They're all R60.
for the most part, yeah.
So the fact that this one's R60 is not different from any of the other parks. Okay. And then I know there are a lot of plans for St. Paul. And, over the years, 35 years that we've been here, the park has changed, and it's full of people, it's used, it's vibrant, etc. There are more changes, but it also is, because it's used, it's crowded. We've got 2 daycare centers and a school that use it, a lot of teams. And wouldn't it be nice in our part of the town to have a park with some benches to just have a seat, there are several over in the other side. I think this should be the last resort, not something to consider. I understand the expansion, adding a restroom, et cetera, all that's a good idea, but all that is because of future enhancement to St. Paul Park. So that ought to be a standalone. The park, in my opinion, this Joseph Park should remain as it is, a park, should get the maintenance it needs and was recommended, and a couple of benches. And then everything else that's planned should be incorporated in the budget that the town has. If we can't afford to do all these things, then they just get deferred. But selling off parcels in the long term just doesn't seem to be the answer,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to take somebody online since they all two are waiting. David Romeo, I see your hand up.
Hi, thank you, Mayor. I have 4 questions, straightforward. Matt had mentioned that the property acquisition fund had approximately $453,000 in it. Is there a desired level for this fund, or does the level of funding just vary according to the need?
So we started basically allocating funds a number of years ago specifically to target the Servpro property. We've known for a few years that we were trying to acquire the Servpro property at 10528 St. Paul Street. So we were allocating funds over years for that. As things change, we realized that we need other properties. We knew that we were going to need the Pepco property, so we started putting funds towards that. The M&T Bank is more recent. It's something that's kind of maybe come up in the last 12 to 18 months that was a possibility for the town to acquire. So we have not had the time to accumulate funds within the fund for that. The other properties that have been mentioned are things that we've been discussed about. A couple of them are on the lower end. You saw estimates of around $60,000 because they may be outlaws. It doesn't mean we can acquire it for that. That's kind of our guess. Comes back in appraisals, whether we can come to an agreement with the property owner. So yeah, we fund, specifically, Dave, we fund the allocation with the understanding of what we think we're going to need over a short term, a 5-year period. Things change. Like I said, M&T really changed everything for us. This was not an option 2 years ago. It became an option 18 months ago. So it's kind of changed the way we're evaluating our funds, evaluating what we're going after. I'll let the mayor and council speak to it, but we have an issue in the business district with parking. This is something that we need to address. We don't really have an option in any other location. It's kind of changed and put a lot of pressure on us to figure out how we can acquire some of these properties. And I don't know, Mayor, if you want to add anything to that. I mean, we don't want to miss our opportunity on these properties. So.
Well, I don't, because there's a lot of opportunity with the M&T, and I know people say, well, you shouldn't trade a park for parking, but if you lived on this side of town, you would realize that the success of our businesses, people who cannot walk to them are driving, and those cars are now being parked in the neighborhoods. So we're trying to get these cars back in. We also, when the M&T moves up to Crossroads of Kensington, they're going to sell their building, and a separate lot would have been the M&T where the drive-through is, that they're going to sell that. So if you were to let somebody buy the M&T lot, someone else, then they may not allow any parking. That would really disrupt our farmers market. But there's an opportunity to take away the building, possibly leave bathrooms. We have not determined that yet. But to take away that and have the center, it would be more than just, a couple of trees. To build a nice little park there for people who go to the farmers market, could have a place to sit and eat. We haven't done design. There's nothing like that. But there's also an opportunity because we personally aren't, but the people that run Mark is looking for another opportunity to cross over the tracks because CSX owns the crossing. But, if they take that away from us, or if they, a train is blocking it, you have to walk all the way up to Connecticut Avenue. Having a second option of crossing the tracks without having to do that is something that piece of property would allow the state to do. So that's something also to keep in mind. So this is a valuable asset to the town. So I know some people in the room are affected by this parking from the success of our business community. So this is one of many things we're looking at to try to solve.
He has 3 other
David,
questions.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, David.
Yeah, that was, that went into a lot of areas there. The second question, I think you may have already answered this, but the funds from the potential sale of Joseph Park, will they go into the property acquisition fund?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, so, I mean, it's up to the council, but basically what we would do is if we sold the property, you know, whether it's 450,000, or if we got a little bit more, depending on the appraisal and the sale amount, staff would go to council and ask that these funds be allocated directly to the property acquisition fund. I would assume that's what we would do because we're using the funds to acquire essentially another piece of land. So that is at least the recommendation and the understanding of staff, so.
However, in a budget process, you could move things around.
Correct.
Yes.
You know, deferring certain projects that are in capital improvement now and moving funds between those categories.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we can always move funds within the CIP. I mean, the problem that we're having and is that we have a lot of things in front of us. Although if you look at our CIP today, you might think we have more money than we really do, but a lot of that is already being expended towards projects that maybe you're not familiar with, or you might have heard us discuss and you're not really understanding. I mean, the stormwater projects alone, there's 4 separate stormwater projects that will exhaust over $2.4 million. I mean, that money is spoken for. We have a bridge renovation project coming before the town. We know that that's going to be probably $400,000. Those funds are exhausted. They're claimed.
And those are the 3 bridges on this side of town.
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of the CIP funds are in projects that we already know are happening. You know, we're putting money, we're allocating on a yearly basis with the understanding that we need to get to these projects or we know they're happening, or we're waiting on the engineering, which is in the case of the stormwater management project. So, you know, you look at the CIP now and you say, oh, well, the town has $6 million. Well, we really don't, because a lot of that money has been allocated towards projects. We literally just cut a check for $1 million 2 weeks ago. We've never spent $1 million in one day in this town. That's gone. But we own 10528 St. Paul Street now. So
I was just gonna mention for folks listening, if you go to the town website to the town budget, you can find a lot of great information from the community budget forum that we held earlier this year that lists the projects that Matt's talking about. I know, David.
Yeah, David, another question?
Yeah, Matt had mentioned there were 3 or 4 potential property acquisitions that you were considering. I was wondering, do you have a current dollar estimate for all those acquisitions?
we do. So specifically, so the and Alex, I don't know if you can bring the slide back. I know the pictures.
They're just, yeah, total, not, you don't, just not for each one, but for total.
Let me wait till we get back to that slide.
I think
It
I
might help a little bit.
I think it's 1.5 million. Matt.
The total.
I think so.
1.5.
I think it's about 1.5. I mean, quick math
Um,
for what you put up there.
Okay, okay, well, if you go to the slide with the pictures, Alex, I think it's the second to last slide. There we go. Okay, so the Kensington Crossing, the one on the far right, that's the HOA. So this is a land area that is west of Silver Creek. This is just before Silver Creek goes back underground and then comes back over above ground on the south side of town. So we approached the board, the HOA, and asked them if they would be willing to sell this lot. They passed a motion and said that we could move forward with an appraisal and make an offer. We are classifying this before the appraisal. We have not gone through the appraisal as an outlot. It's an unbuildable lot. It's in the county floodplain, you know, so it has limitations on what it can do. This is a great opportunity for us to replace Joseph Park, a place where we could put benches, a place where we could plant trees. This is something that we're trying to do to offset the sale of Joseph Park. Joseph Park would bring us in revenue that we would not be able to get otherwise without taking debt or raising taxes. We are looking at this as a huge offset for the community. We do not technically have access or we cannot do anything with this property. We do not own it. If we are able to acquire it, we could put a path through it to connect to Flyers Mill Road. We could plant trees where we're not able to help with our tree canopy. So this is something that would be a great addition to the community. The 10800 St. Paul property, it's a smaller lot. It is an R60 lot. It is buildable. It has limitations to it. There's an easement on the property, and a part of the property is also located in the county floodplain zone. So it is a buildable lot, but the appraisal came back at 60,000. We've made an offer to the property owner. They have declined. We're hoping to still acquire this at some point. If we are able to combine this with the existing right-of-way, we would be able to put together a park on the north side, a park much larger than Joseph Park, something that could have benches and trees and you could activate. It's a little bit further away from houses, and it would be something that could offset the sale of Joseph Park. 10415 Montgomery Avenue is obviously the M&T Bank property. As the mayor mentioned, this is a huge property for us. We need this land. We need this land to do an overcross over the CSX. We are in conversations with MTA to potentially do a tiered parking structure way down the road that could offset and help with marked transit if you want to increase the ridership. This property would allow us to take our existing parking lot, which is where the farmer's market is, and green it up. We can't do that unless we find more parking. So there's a lot of things that could happen over 10, 15, 25 years, but we're trying to start the process now. We're trying to get ahead of the game. We don't want to lose properties. We have an opportunity to get them now. And what the staff has asked the council is, we have a park that's underutilized, has not been used since we acquired it in the 50s. It would get us an amount of money that would allow us to flip within 6 months to acquire property that we absolutely need. We absolutely need to move our public works facility. Summit Avenue is happening. We know it's happening. It's going to be completed in 7 years. So we need to build a public works garage. It also allows us to do some advancements to St. Paul Park. So this is why staff is asking the council to take on this consideration. We understand that green space is important to this community, as the tree canopy is, and we're offering alternatives to offset the sale of Joseph Park if we move that direction. So,
Thank you. I know, David,
Answer this question, but
no,
how much is the accumulation?
I think we said it was over $1 million, David.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
1.5.
1.5 if you had all four.
1.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and finally, I think you've already sort of answered this, but I was wondering what would the time frame for these acquisitions, property acquisitions, and I understand now that some of them are more immediate than others. You're looking at maybe over a decade or further acquisition. Is that correct?
So the Pepco lot would probably be acquired within the next 6 months, assuming we're able to come to an agreement with Pepco to acquire it. M&T Bank would be probably within the next six to 8 months, based on the feedback we've gotten from M&T. They have accepted our offer of $930,000. The HOA property, which would be the main property that would offset the loss of Joseph Park. Again, we have a motion on file from the HOA board to move forward with an appraisal and make an offer. That's something that's realistically we could acquire in the next 12 months. 10800 St. Paul, maybe a little bit longer. Like I said, we've made an offer. They have declined it. We'll see if that goes to market or if we can make another offer. And, we'll see. I mean, there's a few other lots in town that maybe we could take a look at. Things that we're not really necessarily going to discuss in public right now because we haven't discussed anything with that property on it. But, we're always looking at things and understand the value of green space in this community. So.
Okay. Thank you, Mary.
David.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go back to someone in the audience and then we'll go back to someone online. So you spoke. Let me go to this gentleman here.
Hello, Lee Schechter, Wheatley Street. In no particular order. So Kensington Crossing, HOA, that's the lot
Townhouse project, the townhouse that are outside the
between
town.
Pliers Mill and Oberon,
Correct,
right?
yes.
So walk through there all the time, like it's green. And have you seen the lightning bugs in the summer? They're awesome. There's a huge canopy. You do any kind of development there, I assume they're gonna go away. So it seems to be very nice as is. Just a point about that. 10,800 St. Paul. I know exactly where that is. It's already like a park. I mean, it's wild. Like it's not
The
developed.
difference is it's owned by someone that wants to sell it to build a house.
Okay, and it's right across the street from a very large park, Kensington
Yes.
Heights Park. So
which is not a town park though.
No,
So-
I agree, but it is still, I mean, when people go to a park, they don't necessarily care who owns it, I don't think. The town park versus that park because it's a county park, I don't know, a park's a park, so. So back to Joseph Park, said it, great, you don't know what you got till it's gone. You know, we're gonna look back and go like, we did what? And our kids and grandkids are gonna go like, you sold that? Oh, but they put planters in the, you know, that was a great thing, they replaced that. So they bought this parking lot and they put planters and that replaced that. So not really quite the same thing. Also, you said like it's small. Well, first off, good things come in small packages, as my wife barely gets 411. So, and it's only small relative to other things. I mean, there's a lot you can do. We used to live in a neighborhood, not around here, where all the houses were 25 feet wide and 125 feet deep. And every spring, this lady she was from Portugal, but she always planted, you know, huge garden that produced huge amounts of fruit and vegetables and everything in a really, really tiny spot. So the size actually, you can do a lot with a small size. So that's, you know, and again, there's no benches. There's not really any invitation. Sit there. So we're not really trying to make use of it. Another question I had was, have you done in terms of parking? So the motivation is in part, right, because people need more parking in town. Have you done any actual parking like feasibility studies where you objectively measure how many cars there are,
Funny you should ask
how
that.
many spots they actually need? Or is it just, we feel like that is, and our neighbors are complaining, and so we're doing something? So has that been done, or?
I will let Connor and
Yeah,
Ian
that-
answer that question.
Thank you for bringing it up. Chief ploy of, we have a new parking task force. Some of the people here and online have volunteered to join it. We just started it because of the issues that we're having with parking. It's both for our commercial areas and our residential areas. North side of the tracks, south side of the tracks, east side of Connecticut, west side of Connecticut. All parts of town are having some issues with parking. And so part of what that task force will do is to get a expert consultant, a traffic consultant, to come and look at those kind of determinations. How much parking do we need? Where is it optimally located? What style of parking, on street, off street, paid, free, time restricted, how long? All of those are what the parking task force is going to take up. So I'm really glad you brought it up. Yes, we know that we have issues. We also know that nobody on the panel here is a traffic or parking expert. So we're undertaking that.
And I'll just add, as a co-chair of that task force, that we really are going into this with an open mind to do an assessment, including existing parking areas that are perhaps not optimized for use or are underutilized, like doing an inventory of what we already have within the town area.
That's great. I work in an office building, and everybody who has an office says, we need more space, we need more desk. And then somebody actually did an objective study. It's like, actually, you've got space there, and there. It's not used. Until you do an objective study, you kind of don't know. So I'm glad that that's actually being done, although I thought that might have been done beforehand, because that was the reason in part for the sale was for more parking, but it may be we actually don't need more parking.
So the reason for the sale really isn't for parking. I know these things keep getting tied together. It's a good soundbite, but the primary reason is to acquire the lot on St. Paul Street that allows us to bring our public works building over there. We have the first of what is, there's multiple lots. We have the first lot secured as of November 1st. The second lot is the next one we really need. That it will help us to move our public works building over, design it in such a way that we can bring public works. We could bring bathrooms to the park. We could have additional parking for St. Paul Park, which I live on the park, and parking is often, I mean, Leslie brought up a great point. It's a great, wonderful, active park, but that comes with issues too, right? I mean, St. Paul Street, Oberon, even Wheatley on the peak days are jam full of cars, and it makes getting to the park very dangerous because we don't have sidewalks, right? So everybody's walking in the middle of the street. So I'm just trying to disconnect the idea that we're selling this to go build a parking lot. I'm the one that opened the Pandora's box of the cheesy lyrics, and I
Well,
really regret that.
It came up that
No,
way
but I
last
think
March.
last March, that was the main reason.
Last March it came. up
Last
that way.
March, right, when we were on site, there was a, hey, what's the reason? And we talked about a few things, and those two got connected together. But in reality, that we're not selling it to build a parking lot. What we try to do though is give everybody as transparently as possible, like, all of the moving pieces that the town is looking at. M&T lot is part of it, but St. Paul Street and the Pepco lot is part of it. The HOA property where the lightning bugs are,
Right.
and again, that's not to be developed. That's to like put in new trees to
Right.
actually promote exactly what the benefit is there, and it helps with some
Right.
flooding issues. And then the other reality, just one last comment to Matt's point. Well, Summit Avenue is going through and it should be completed in 7 years. That doesn't mean we have 7 years to get our public works building out, because the moment they start doing construction, which is in the, should be about 3 years, our public works building needs to be moved. Because once they start construction, that area, like, we're dead center in the middle of that project.
Got it. I just want to close with, I think selling Joseph Park should be the very last
Mhm.
option. Like when almost like the town is desperate, which I don't think it's desperate. So, anyway.
Just to get your, to understand when you say last, wouldn't taxes be the last resort? Or do you feel selling Joseph Park? would be-
I don't know, it depends what taxes would go up, but even
I'm
taxes.
just,
mean,
I mean,
taxes
that's
go up
not an
by
easy
certain-
thing to do either,
Once you
so.
sell land, like it's gone. Once it's developed, that's gone forever. And you don't want to be in a position years from now going, why did we do that again?
So
Oh,
even if you're getting land somewhere else, you're taking that land and just buying other land. It's not like buying a car. I'm selling that to buy a car. I'm selling land to buy land within the town.
Well, you're
I'm
not
just
sell-
trying to
you're not
understand.
just selling that land, you're destroying a park. You're taking away a park
Okay,
is what will happen.
I'm taking away a sign that says it's a park.
It is. It is a park.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
All right, somebody online, Jody, I see your hand.
Thank you. My name is Jody Krieger. I live on the north side of town on Lexington Court for the last over 30 years. I walk by this piece of land all the time. I've never, ever, ever seen one person in there, one dog in there, ever. I support the selling of this land. I understand the needs of the town as described by Matt. This is a small piece of land that abuts Pliers Mill Road on one side and a residence on the other. There's no buffer between the land and Pliers Mill. We had somebody else just say how busy, traffic goes by, how fast it goes by on Pliers Mill. This is not a piece of land you'd bring your children to. It's just too dangerous. And 1 block away, as we all know, is St. Paul's Park, a very busy park where people gather, they play ball, playground equipment, dogs are there. I look at the park, the busy park, and I see, it brings a smile to my face. I walk my dogs there all the time. But there's always a bench to sit on. And you can always, reflect on that bench and sit on the sun, just like you could if we put a bench in 1 block away on this land. Those that are opposed to the selling of it talk about the trees, but if you look at it closely, a lot of those trees are on the perimeter of the land. And so if somebody buys it, they're not necessarily going to take down all those trees. And also, the town could require them to replace any trees that they cut down somewhere else. And as you've said, there's, we could build the other park right nearby and have other greenscape. I know the town hasn't designated the resources, but I understand you're really trying not to raise our taxes. That's an important thing. And that if, you start to raise our taxes, then people are going to be upset about that. We could really use bathrooms in St. Paul's Park. And I understand that if you buy that land, that this could be a possible use of that land, of that money. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Jody. Okay, audience next. Anybody else in the audience? Let me get the people that have not talked first. Okay.
Urban Lucas, St. Paul Street. So the current public works location, does the town own that?
Yes.
So if we would when that Summit Avenue extension, when we sell that and get profit money?
You want me to answer that?
Well,
Okay.
you can answer it. Go ahead.
I didn't know if we rented it or how
No,
that.
No, we own it.
It's on DuPont Avenue. It's on the west side. So if you know where Mr. Car Wash.
Yeah, I know
is, you go to the
where, I
end.
know where
Okay.
the facility is.
Um,
I just didn't know if we owned it.
The town has been advised by Montgomery County Department of Transportation, who is the organization that will be voting Summit Avenue. They are requesting that we donate that land for the public good for the road. In return, as Councilmember Crimmins mentioned earlier this evening, there is a proposed linear park that would run along what would be the east side of Kengar, which we would get in return for the land. So although we would not get a financial benefit for donating the land, we would get green space back, part of that project. So
Okay, I mean, it just.
there's no
if-
financial.
If a lot of the,
There would be
if
no
the-
financial gain, physical financial gain from the town.
okay,
But we get land back
Yes, we would get.
as a
land.
park
on,
on where,
kind of adjacent. to
yeah,
it,
it'd be
okay.
probably extended further than what we actually have now. So
Okay,
it
and
would
just-
be, it
If
would
we
be
own
adjacent
that,
to
then why
Kengar.
wouldn't we be using the funds from
Yeah.
that to?
Right,
To fund the new location?
Right.
The other question was the HOA property, are they actively trying to sell that?
They are not, we approached them.
Okay,
They held a board meeting, earlier this year. Like I said, they passed the motion. They are favorable towards the town acquiring the land, for the purposes that we told them. Their other request was potentially to make, aesthetic improvements to the bridge that is on Flowers Mill Road. The bridge is not within the corporate limits of the town, so it would fall under Montgomery County Department of Transportation. There is a possibility that we could work with Montgomery County to make some aesthetic improvements on the bridge when they next get in line for any improvements there.
but right now it's, if they're not actively trying to sell to someone else, can we just make that a low priority because it's kind of park-like as it is, right?
Yeah, it just, we cannot make any improvements to it. We cannot plant any trees. We would not be able to do anything.
They wouldn't welcome that?
They could, my guess is that based on the conversations that we had with them, they would like funds. They are HNO,
would like-
HOA. They do have a parking lot that they would probably like to maintain, or get repaid potentially. They were very open to selling it to us.
Okay, just trying to understand. Okay,
thank you. Okay, let's see, Mr. Haynes, John?
Thank you. I'm glad I'm not on the town council. It's hard. No right answers. I would like the town council to try to think about all the moving parts as seems to be presented to us as the approach to prioritize spending and not let song lyrics confuse us. I mean, and I think Jody said it very well, that we don't want to raise our taxes raised, and that also presents political problems as well as, I don't want my taxes raised. But okay, anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you for being transparent and trying to make decisions that prioritize spending.
Thank you, Mr. Haynes. All right, anyone in the audience who hasn't? Okay, Leslie, if you wanted to ask your question.
Leslie Olson Wheatley. So Arlene, basically that was my question, but what is the value of the Public Works land?
Oh, we have not had it appraised. I do not know. I would assume that it's probably somewhere in the $400,000 to $500,000 range, but that has not been appraised, so it's not official. So.
Okay, so dollar for dollar, is that a good deal to give it to the county in exchange for the strip of land, and is that beneficial to the,
Refer to the mayor and council on
I
that.
think if you get a park out of it, yeah.
and the park would be,
So we had the Urban Land Institute come in and do a study for us about a year and a half ago to help with, how we talk to the county council and the county executive about Summit Avenue Extended. And some of the things that, they were looking at is, oh, it's a road. And our thing is, it's not just a road. This is an opportunity to bring in parkland and green space. This is an opportunity to unlock, commercial redevelopment, put in additional housing, and when they saw that, they were like, oh, we haven't been looking at it the way that you guys have been looking at it. It was very helpful. But one of the big things that Urban Land Institute took from our comments was this idea of introducing a park. And so as Summit Avenue bends from being northbound to coming back to Connecticut Avenue, what we have kind of designed in, now this is just on paper, there's no official design plans yet for this, but is to put in what they are calling a linear park. And that's because it's a really long park as opposed to one square lot. But what we would do is, it would be a land swap. We would swap the public works facility to the county. In return, the county would make all of the improvements. So they would complete the project, but in there, they would build this linear park, and they would put in the public benefits, benches, and how we're activating in all new trees and all the things we want. They would get us a brand new park, and then they would trade it back to us. So, if the idea is, could we buy a finished park for $400,000? Our point is, we can swap the parcel that is there that might have a value of around 400, and in return, get back a fully finished park that then we would take over. It'd be a town park, and we would maintain it.
Okay. All right, real quick. So with all these options, where Joseph Park is, the only thing that kind of makes sense to me is that stretch of the HOA property, because it's got a lot of potential to get people to Pliers Mill so that they can go up to St. Paul Park. And having the park be sold with uncertainty is really difficult to say, yes, that's a good idea, just sell it, put the money in the bank. So further review and some more specifics, I think, would be really helpful.
Okay, can I ask, would you be more comfortable with the proposal if we've tried not to tie specific proposal, the sale to a specific proposal, because we have a bunch of them. Would you be more comfortable with the proposal if we were to say we're going to sell this Joseph Park and we commit to buying the strip right next door to it, right along the creek at the HOA? Is that, I'm
I
trying
think
to
that's
understand
much
if that
more
was-
palatable, because I'm familiar with that strip. I also see its dual purpose. I can see it being very a pathway to get people. There's a proposed sidewalk on Kensington Parkway. Get people straight ahead to get to an existing sidewalk along Pliers Mill to get to the park. And that solves a lot of problems, logistic problems that are just out there for any other sidewalk plans.
Because I think
So-
part of the point of this listening session from everybody is, it's not, should we go forward with the sale? It's as one option, should we go forward with the sale? Another option, should we commit to raising taxes? Should we do nothing? And so it's a whole range of possibilities that I hope will inform, if there's another next stage, of what should the ordinance look like. If we decide, and then everybody can come back and comment on the specific ordinance that we are proposing to approve. So that's why.
Well, I
asked the
think, I
question.
think the HOA parcel has potential in the argument, and it's a lot less than the park would sell for. And it gives exposure to that open space, to that part of town.
Okay,
My thought.
all right, I've got a couple people more online, so let me get to them. Sienna Lyon.
Hi, yeah. My name is Sienna Lyon. I'm on Jennings Road. This is my first time engaging with the town council, so thank you. I appreciate giving the time and space for us to be able to share today. So my family has lived in Kensington for over 20 years, and I've lived here kind of off and on during that time. But my favorite part about returning to this area and living in this area is just how lush and green it is, how many trees we have. And that includes the trees that already exist at Joseph Park. And specifically, as it pertains to Joseph Park, there are old trees on that plot of land. And I think it needs to be acknowledged that planting new trees does not do the same thing for the environment as allowing old trees to remain, just in terms of the value that it has for the environment. So I also hope that we can all agree that we live on a planet that's facing a pretty massive existential threat due to human influenced climate change. And I know this is just about the park and whether or not we want to sell it, but that is very front and center in my mind. And to me, we need to move towards seeing ourselves more as stewards of the land and thinking about how in the next 10 to 20 years, that's going to be vital for determining how our planet is going to progress with regards to climate change. And our town should keep that in mind as we make moves. So not everything needs to be developed. The last few years of living here, I've noticed more and more development and construction of huge homes just along my road here. And honestly, this past summer, like hearing trees being cut down literally probably once a week was alarming and very upsetting. So something else that I learned this week and once I received this information about the park and was kind of doing a little bit more research about things, but I did not know this, that Kensington was named for the Kensington Gardens in England. And I hope we will continue to keep that in mind as we decide what to do with the green space that already exists in our town. Parks are more than just their square footage. I also lived in Portland, Oregon. We had a park, it was 2 square feet, and it was still a park. So parks are the way that we engage with our green space, and I just want to share my opinion here today that I very much oppose the sale of this plot of land. I also support some of the other initiatives that you're talking about, and I understand that the budget is more complicated than probably a lot of us understand, but I think focusing more on how we can create more of an inviting green space, kind of what was mentioned earlier by someone else talking about maybe adding in some pollinator gardens, something like that would be a better way of spending our time and money as a community as it relates to Joseph Park, instead of just continuing to develop and build. So thank you for taking the time to listen to all of us. I just wanted to have the space to be able to share some of my opinions. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lyon.
Thank you.
Anyone in the audience? Go ahead.
Beth Myers. Oh,
Well,
sorry,
I'm
no.
going back and forth. Beth, I do see you and Joe Campbell where you'll be next after this young lady.
Thank you so much. My name is Andrea Stumpf, Kensington Parkway. Lived in the area in the on Kensington Parkway for the past more than 25 years. I really appreciated what Sienna just shared, so would like to echo that. But the reason I'm coming up here is I guess I'm new to the topic in that I only recently realized that this was being considered. I'm new to town council proceedings. It is clearly very complex. I've really appreciated all the information, but when I step back and I think there are really just 2 questions here. What do we gain from the sale and what do we lose from the sale? I could not even begin to answer it based on the information we have received. And it's partly because it's all very complex, and the way that we're discussing it here is we are talking about the park in the context of everything else. So there's obviously a tension between looking at the park for itself as a standalone topic versus all the other elements that are coming into play. It's really hard for me, just, normal citizen, to be able to really say, okay, if we sell the park, what do we gain? Because sometimes the responses are about other things that we would buy. So obviously it would offset the gains, the proceeds would be less, but I can't really tell, is it a one-to-one? Is it directly related? Is it something else? Is it chronologically, right in the same time frame? So what are we actually gaining? I don't know. Are there others in the audience who could say? I could not even begin to say what is the dollar amount or even other value that we gain from the sale. But similarly, I also cannot even begin to say what are we losing. And that is because I don't think the analysis has been done. So I understand the staff has a position and would like to put this proposal forward, but who in the town, in terms of the council and the staff, is taking the position of what are we losing? Has there been any analysis in terms of what the park could be or what we could make of it? Or I really thought the comment about the old trees, what's the value of old trees versus young trees? You know, how do we know, how do we assess what we're actually losing here? That analysis was not part of the presentation. It doesn't strike me that that analysis has been done other than the community trying to speak to it. So on these two questions, I would guess my question is what could be done to get us further to understand exactly what we're gaining and exactly what we're losing? And saying things like taxes will be raised, that kind of strikes me as fear-mongering, if I may say, because honestly, we're going to raise taxes because we couldn't sell Joseph Park. It's only 450,000. It's not going to carry us that far, and there's obviously much more going on. So I'm sorry to have taken so much time, but that's kind of where I'm left as an individual, just trying to understand and think constructively on the topic. Thank you.
Could I just add that a couple of years ago, I chaired the Greenscape Committee, and someone on Wheatley, diagonally across from Joseph Park, came to me and said, what can we do with Joseph Park? What can we do with it? It's just sitting there. What can we do with it? So I had spent a lot of time in Joseph Park. So I went over there, and I had a really hard time figuring it out. I had thought of a labyrinth because of its proximity to residential home. I mean, it's literally, you could stand in the middle of Joseph Park and you could see into the person's home next door. So I thought, well, labyrinth would be a good way. It's quiet. Most people come, I think. And then we met on the 13th in 2023. Oh my God, next to Pliers Mill, that is not a quiet location. So I'm like, oh, labyrinth is not going to work here. And then of children, you would have to put a fence up. There's no way you could have a place without a fence around it. So Greenscape could not come up with a use for it. So there has been some thought, some general thought. What could we do with this besides bringing your dog to do their business? It's not a place you can throw a ball. It's not it's not a large enough area where, the dog is going to want to move on. So it really, to me, and then we went on our little tour, last Friday, and I had never walked the area between Pliers Mill and Oberon, this big green stretch along the creek. If you've not done that, you should do that. It is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And there's a sign there that says private property. It's laying down, but there's a sign there that says private property. And I'm like, wow, there's a lot here we could do. Because if you don't know it, Cabin Park, another beautiful park that does belong to this county, is a floodplain. But they use that park immensely. And the only time you can't use it is when we have floods. And we haven't had rain in 4 months. So, we're not going to have any flooding anytime soon. So I really could visualize, and I'm trying to answer your question, this property, which a whole committee could not figure out what the heck to do with this piece of property. And yet when I went to the next property, I was like, wow, there's a lot of things we could do here. We could build a path, one of those paved paths that's rubber and not going to bother the water. Put more trees. People could be playing ball out there. It's not in the way of traffic. So there's been some thought about this. So I'm not saying I'm for or against, but I could see the prospect of actually utilizing this property where we're not utilizing the other one. And if somebody could come up with something other than just walking their dog, now I got other people to talk to. I'd really appreciate it. Let me get to the people. Well, we actually talked about the pollinator garden, though, on the other property on the north side that we were also looking at. And Greenscape did like that particular one as well. So, okay, sorry, I had to get that in because there has been thought about this. There really, really has. Beth, go ahead.
I'm Beth Meyer on Wheatley Street, like the rest of the Wheatley Street gang. And this is my dog's favorite park. He loves walnuts. He's an inveterate walnut collector. It's my daughter Sarah's favorite park in the neighborhood. She loves walking there. All you have to do, go on by nothing, put some benches there. I mean, or someone in the community would put benches there. I've missed 2 evening events tonight because I feel so passionately about this issue. I don't understand. We've got beautiful, mature trees, and I don't understand obtaining another park to buy immature, wimpy looking trees. When I go to the St. Paul playground, a lot of these points have been made, but I want to summarize them, and because it's so important to me. I get run over by the little kids on the scooters. There's no reason, even though it's on Pliers Mill, it couldn't be a more adult park with benches, with a community garden, with a pollinator garden. There is no reason it couldn't be that. I agree with Leslie. There should be a plaque there. That would be wonderful. I don't understand getting rid of a space with beautiful trees in a community that's supposed to value green space. And also, I think it's completely premature when you just started a task force on the parking lot. I mean, when you come up with how much do we really need this parking and all that, then you could start to consider different options. But why do that when you've just started a task force? I feel, I don't mean to put words in Alicia's mouth, that I don't feel like this is transparent. We got the card yesterday, and you all seem to be unanimous to get rid of the park, and I haven't heard anybody even see any value in the park from the council.
Okay, thank you. And I know you're missing K-Town Ladies tonight. I was disappointed.
Yes,
Thursday night.
and my Kenmont Pole book club.
We feel very passionately about the
yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Go ahead, Zach.
Good evening. My name is Zachary Carmichael. I live on Pliers Mill. Thank you to the council. Thank you to the mayor for holding this open session. I think my views on this topic have been pretty clear in our past engagement. I wish the council meetings were this populated all the time.
They are.
I really do.
Yeah.
They're always like.
But
we have to use a little more AI to have people out in the audience.
Indeed. So I just have a few points to raise for the council's consideration. I think what we're really discussing is a argument over what we value as a community. This is the heart of the matter. I think language that we use is very important. I heard the town manager use several phrases in the presentation, such as continuously referring to the park as residential multiple times, how small it was, what is absolutely needed in place of that park. And, these are value statements. And I think the point that was just made about what is the council's position? What are the positives of Joseph Park? What is something that the town staff, that others really see in this piece of land? I think there have been a few people who have made arguments tonight that there is value to them. And I think value is a very difficult thing to put a number on. It's not just about dollars and cents. It's, what's the location? So for instance, when we're talking about swapping out this piece of land for that piece of land, where's it going to be located? Is it going to be on the other side of the tracks? I mean, these are qualitative, really important issues within the community, and who's located where. It's also about the assets of that property. There's some living things, right? Some actual trees that have been here longer than any of us have ever been alive. I know a few have made that point. It also has sentimental worth. I know I don't think anybody has ever staked out the use of that park. Actually like sat there and just seen how many people are there. I think there's an assumption that that park just isn't used. I don't know if people know this, but every single day when I walk my daughter to school, she goes to the Montessori school right in Kensington. She stops at that park. She walks through that park. She hugs the trees. I didn't even tell her to do that. I've got pictures and videos to show you if you're interested in that, right? I mean, there is a lot of sentimental value beyond just walking dogs and throwing balls in these parks, okay? I am very curious of whether or not selling that park will actually, if we didn't have the park to sell, would it actually stop the town's plans at all, right? It's kind of an important question for us to think through. My calculation was we're about $560,000 short from some of the capital expenditures. And I think one of the biggest issues when it comes to politics and doing good for our towns is figuring out how to pay for things. And I think if we knew that paying for things would come at the cost of irreversible selling of green space, a lot of people would react. I think that's why you have so many people here talking about it. So many people talking about looking back at the 70s and what we were fighting for, right, as a country, and what were our values. I mean, these are just really important things. So I've heard the council say in the past they would never dream of selling any other park in this town. You never think of selling St. Paul Park, Glen Park, other parks. So my question to the council would be, why start with Joseph Park? If you're committed to green space, if you're committed to protecting parks, then protect Joseph Park. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Campbell?
Thank you,
Dr.
Mayor
Campbell?
Furman. Yes, thank you, Mayor Furman.
Mm-hmm.
Selling town parkland, however modest that parkland is, could set a very unwelcome precedent for Kensington. And, you know, I hate to see this. I hate to see parkland, again, however modest, however stunted. I hate to see it be placed on the block. I just think we can find other options. And we've heard many very articulate options expressed tonight. I was pleased to hear mentioned early in this listening session the reference to Joseph's Park being with some historical significance. And this is mentioned quite clearly by the Kensington Historical Society in its online site. So it's not a place that's without broader importance to the town. And finally, and I'll be brief, I just wanted to ask the town manager if he would clarify what were some of the issues that he mentioned or alluded to in getting the notice to townspeople out so late. What happened? Why was it delayed as it was? A little more transparent detail would be appreciated on that score. Thank you.
We got behind. I mean, that's true. We're a small staff. We're incredibly busy. And that's what happens. I mean, you're looking at 3 staff members trying to do everything. I mean, this was not a formal public hearing. I'm very sorry that the notice got out late. And I wish we got it out a week earlier, but we didn't.
Okay,
Thank you, Mayor Furman.
thank you. All right, well, it is about 6 minutes to 8. I want everybody to have an opportunity to talk, but go ahead. We can like to finish at 8 o'clock if possible.
Thank you so much to everybody, Mayor and Council, for extending the public comment session through your meeting. So Connor, you were there with me and Mayor Tracy in March of 2023, and I volunteered to buy a bench. That still stands. I'll buy 2 benches. If you want benches, I'll buy them. I'll pay to have them installed. Totally fine. I would like to understand more, and we don't have time to get into it tonight, but I would like a little more transparency about the other sources of funding that have been investigated. For example, the pavilion in St. Paul Park, that was a grant. Can you get a grant for bathrooms? Has anybody pursued a grant for the new green space? Because, and I know it's been said before, there are old trees in St. Joseph Park. One of them
Don't make him a saint. It's just Joseph.
is
just-
Joseph's.
Yeah, just Joseph Park. He's not a saint.
Well, he's not a saint. but-
Okay, St. Paul is, but.
Right, sorry. I might have misspoken there,
That's
St. Paul.
okay.
Okay, Joseph's Park, very different from St. Joseph. So Joseph's Park. Some trees are younger. Some trees are older. That big tree, definitely 100, maybe 150, possibly more than 200.
Is that the ash?
That's the big 50,
The walnut.
50-inch diameter.
walnut.
So that's interesting too, because it doesn't look like an ash, but when I look at the printout, the 50-inch diameter is listed as an ash. Anyway, I'll go, it doesn't really matter.
No, I know. I'm
No,
just
What-
wanted to see
but-
which tree you were talking about.
It's the big one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the very big one. And it's great to think about new green spaces. It's wonderful to think about new green spaces or swapping out for park that's already built. But how many decades are we going to wait to have the tree canopy? We have existing mature tree canopy. We're going to sell that and get rid of it to make little weeny trees. It just, you cannot replace that. And I don't think people are giving that value. And again, I'll buy one bench, I'll buy 2 benches, I'll pay you to install them. I'm totally serious. I meant it when I said it last year, and I mean it now. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you very
Thank you.
much. Okay, does anybody else want to say something before we close it down? 10 seconds? Okay, get your name and your street.
Jamie Keller, 7th Avenue, 2 more ideas, splash pad, sculpture garden.
Thank you. Okay, I will remind everybody that it sits, ask yourself, do I want a splash pad right next to my house? There are people that live there right next door, and Connor lives diagonally.
I would not like a splash pad.
Okay,
Plus-
Kids might.
Plus, well, no, there's, like, let's be honest, it's great. I love the ideas, but
I-
let's be honest, like, it's a, you know, it's heavily shaded. The splash pad would be,
you'd have to cut down the tree.
it kind of conflicts with the other things we're trying to preserve. So, but also, we'd have to run water into that. We'd have to, like, there's other we're also looking for ideas, right? These are great ideas. You volunteer to buy a bench. Those are great ideas. If we activate the park, right, then my next question is, okay, if we come up with an identity and we activate the park and we want more people to use the park, are we good with putting in sidewalks along Wheatley and along Oberon and along Kensington Parkway to get people to this park and to St. Paul Park, right? If we want people to go to these parks safely, we're all
There's no
agreeing,
sidewalks on either
there's no
side.
sidewalks on that
On
block of Wheatley on either side of the road. There is one on Pliers Mill on the north side of the park,
Yeah.
which you can kind of come in flush. But when you're on Wheatley, there's actually, it's like a 6-foot rise up. So that would do we have to do ADA compliance? I'm not saying I'm opposed to that. I'm just saying, what is our requirement? Do we have to put in stairs? Do we have to ramp or just let them come in? But, do we take frontage, the public right of way along Wheatley Street? And then do we continue that network along Oberon and along Connecticut, Kensington Parkway to actually safely connect the residential areas to these parks, right? Like, I want to hear all of those ideas. I'm personally in favor of trying to get people to our parks safely, and I think that means sidewalks. I'm very pro sidewalk. I got 4 kids, and so those are other considerations, right? As we think about this, I want to think holistically about it.
Okay, all right, well, thank you all for coming out again. This is just a listening session. I think we survived this better than the obtainable housing discussion that we had not too long ago with the county. So, no, I think we learned a lot and understand how people feel about it. And I want to thank everybody who took the time. If we move forward with it, as I said, it's a 3-month process. There is an introduction, there is a hearing, and then there would be the vote. So it takes over 3 months usually for the hearing. It's a month-long opportunity to provide feedback. So I'm not sure where we are in that, but you will have plenty of time, and this would be a higher priority for staff in getting that out. So you don't need to worry about that. Well, I don't think we'll have a problem, but be in mind that this is not, when we sent it out on the 13th, we were sending out just on the north side. This was townwide. So it's a little bit bigger thing to send out, because that's why I'm sure you're here, as you got it, via the postcard. And so it's not just the people on the north side that received these notices. Everybody did this time. So, and unfortunately, I mean, I have 2 kids in the military, but we had Veterans Day yesterday. And so there was no mail delivery. So it should have been in your post box yesterday. So, and it was
Actually,
not.
Saturday.
It should have been in
Usually Monday.
It was
Saturday.
supposed to be there Saturday.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, so we'll blame the post office. Yeah. I appreciate that. All right. Well, thank you very much. And we're going to continue with our meeting. You're more than welcome to stay. So.
Thanks, everybody.
Zach, you're staying, right? You just talked about wanting to see people at town meetings.
Okay.
Thanks,
All
everybody.
right. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
There it is.
I feel like you've already done number
Talk
2.
about composting though. Don't you wanna-
This will not be a composting session.
Composting?
No,
No, they're ignoring us.
Composting,
Not at Joseph's Park.
food waste, disposal.
Wait.
Stay for the conversation. All right, watch the minutes. Or watch the meetings, guys.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Scott, you can go home.
Sorry, Scott.
You owe him, man. You owe him.
We'll get to it quickly though. It's very quick, right?
All right, well, we can bring that up. if that-
Oh,
Sure, we'll bring it up. Let me, number 2 is easy, so
yeah, I get my agenda.
oh, is that how that,
That name's on. Whichever one I think.
It's the one on the back.
Oh, that one.
That-
Oh, I was drawing on that. How did I end up with that?
Because, so I tell you who's online.
Oh, that's what that was from.
Yeah.
It's like, how did I get 2 agendas? Okay, Matt, could you go ahead and just do,
Sure.
number 2? You've already done it, but let's
Sure.
just for the
For
record.
formal purposes, the town acquired 10528 St. Paul Street on Friday, November 1st, 2024. This is the location of ServPro. ServPro has a short-term 90-day lease with the town until they're able to move to their property over at the old Rock Spring location, which is at Flyers Mill, as you're entering into the Kengar. Just to clarify, in addition to the closing costs and what we put into the property thus far, we have spent $1,034,872.60 on the acquisition. We have one more invoice coming for the test pits that we had to confirm on the vent pipe situation that we had. We will at some point hope to be bringing the council an ordinance to acquire the Pepco property, no matter what we do at Joseph's Park, and move forward with engineering and design of that property for a public works facility.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions from anyone in the audience or online? Okay, we will move on, and we are going to take number 4 and put it ahead of number 3 so that we can talk about composting.
I'm gonna defer to
Yeah.
Councilman Parango. and
I've been quiet. I've been
Liquor.
I've been in listening
Spoken
mode.
enough this
I've been in
evening.
listening mode fully. Do you want, is it okay?
Please.
Okay. So it's actually not composting. It was a little bit of a ploy to get you to stay. It's kind of composting. We're, and you know what it's about because you were in the conversation before, but we're talking about our town food waste program.
Which doesn't exist.
Which does not yet exist, but Sustainable Kensington has been studying for the last 6 months plus.
I think it's longer, yeah.
The option of adding a community-wide or town-wide food waste program pickup, whether that's composting or just picking up the food waste and taking it to a bio facility, which does anaerobic digestion. And I'll get into a couple of details in a second, but so we compared 2 options. The one is to have everyone be serviced by compost crew, where everyone would get a bin. And the costs are in the information that was provided beforehand, but it's about $22?
Yeah, so let me.
Okay, you'll get to the details, but
Yeah, I'll clarify that.
the options are that, or to add to our ecology contract that we have right now. which is for our trash and our recycling pickup, to do this bio facility. It's called what is the place called? Bioenergy facility in to take it to bioenergy facility in Jessup, Maryland, that a couple of us from Sustainable Kensington toured. So we did a survey of both companies to see, what around a couple of different questions about what the pickup would look like, what the costs are, how they use it, what is the process, what are the greenhouse gas emissions reductions, environmental benefits and costs. So we discussed this several times, most recently at the last Sustainable Kensington meeting, and the general consensus was that that the bio facility option was preferred amongst the people for the most part. There were some that wanted to still continue compost, and if we were to go with this option for the bio facility, it would be I think because it was cheaper, it would be able to be added very quickly to a contract that we could start in January, I believe. Is that right?
So we have, the discussions is March. We're looking at
Okay,
March
so we're looking
1st.
a little bit later than we
Yeah,
were originally talking. Okay.
We could bump that up. It's basically ecology could mobilize very quickly. The problem is the toters.
Yeah.
It's getting the bins. That is what's going to be the delay.
Yeah. And just to give as much information as possible, and then I'm sure I missed some, and Matt can fill in the gaps. The this composting. I mean, you could still do it on your own with your contract directly with Compost Crew, or bring it here to the town where we would continue to serve the community's needs for composting here in the lot that we have the bins. Because we really want to continue to encourage businesses, especially the farmers market people, to bring their food and compost it there. And we actually are thinking about how do we expand business use of the composting. But at a basic level, the difference between the two, because I know someone's going to ask the question, is composting involves aerobic digestion or aerobic processes that involve oxygen. So that's why you have to turn it. That's why you have to keep getting oxygen into it. And that's done so that it decomposes without releasing methane. If you put it, the baseline is you put that into the food waste into the trash, and then it goes into a landfill. The reason you have all those exhaust pipes in the landfills is to breathe methane out, essentially, because it's decomposing in anaerobic environment, and it releases methane into the atmosphere. The bio facility from Devco in Jessup would collect the food waste, not compost it. It would use it would basically simulate what's happening in a landfill and do anaerobic digestion, but capture the methane. And then that gets generated into what's called renewable natural gas, which is essentially 60% methane and other gases, but then that's put into the BG&E pipeline directly, and it goes into the natural gas system, essentially. There's also benefits from both processes, composting and the bio generation for the renewable gas generation, which is a material. Well, in compost you get the composting material, but in this process you get something called digestate, which is similar to a compost that they can use for farms and use as fertilizer, as well as recycled water. They're able to retain the water and recycle it for gardening purposes and using for other reasons.
Nate, that was a great summary. The only thing I would add is that when we were discussing this with Sustainable Kensington, on balance, I would characterize it as people chose to be more practical in the sense that the biogas option was cheaper, and there were some concerns among committee members that, as some environmentalists have, that this prolongs use of natural gas infrastructure. And we had that discussion within the committee, and I think that at the end of the day, the practical side was, look, natural gas isn't going away anyway soon. If this is a way for us to remove methane emissions from our town's food waste and do it at a low cost, we should do that and get people in the habit of separating out food waste and getting used to disposing of it in this way. And so I think that was sort of where the group landed.
Right. Yeah.
So the only thing I'll add to that is there's always the potential for a facility change as well, as we've discussed. Montgomery County does have in their CIP to create their own composting facility, so it could change down the road where ecology could take it to, and that could potentially change. But as Councilmember Lichter, it is financial. So the breakdown for the composting programs are $8.07 per unit per month for household in the town of Kensington, which totals $58,104 for the composting program. We are discussing getting a neighboring jurisdiction to join us. If we are able to do that, it brings the price down to $5.29, which would save $20,000 on the contract. In contrast, Compost Crew's proposal was $22 per month per unit, which totaled $158,000, which is $100,000 more than the ecology contract. So it would be $100,000 more a year through Compost Crew than it would be through ecology. So
What are the neighboring?
Got it.
I'll repeat so he doesn't make up.
Okay.
His question was, who are the neighboring jurisdictions? So our initial conversation was with Chevy Chase View. They currently have a subsidized program with Compost Crew. They did not want to discuss another contract until that contract was complete. And we have been advised that Garrett Park potentially might be interested in partnering with us. So Ecology is talking with their town manager and their mayor and council to see if possibly Garrett Park would be interested. The reason why the price would be reduced is it would basically pack out a truck. It gets more of the food waste into a vehicle, which saves them time, cost, and money. So
I think Garrett Park had applied for a sustainable Maryland, but I don't think they've done anything with it. I thought I saw them on the list.
I don't remember. In full transparency, can you say what the cost would be, the 58,000 per year, but what would the capital cost be included for the first year with the toters too?
So the toter cost breakdown is, we have a direct cost for the toters from Ecology for it would be 600 toters. So every single home would receive a 13-gallon little toter. You might have seen them around town. For individuals that have that with Compost Crew was $14,898. The cost from Compost Crew was $21,000 even. So there's even $6,000 cost just on the toter. They would have our seal on it. They would be serial numbers. So with the neighbors, you wouldn't pick up your neighbor's toter.
Last question for you, and I'm putting it to you because you speak much more eloquently on these issues, especially. Can you say about the potential for the contract implications if we wanted to eventually drop?
So that's really, I guess it was one of the selling points that Ecology made for us to consider is the compost contract with Ecology would be a 1-year agreement. It would be set up the same way we set up our trash recycling and yard waste collection, where there would be 1-year options on top of that. Ecology currently has an NIH contract for food waste removal. We would be their first residential contract. So they're very interested in getting in the town. We have a long relationship with them. And what they are willing to do is if we get a year in and it is not going well, they are willing to back out of the contract.
For just compost.
For just compost. Or food.
Food
We will
waste,
refer
right.
to this as food
Food
waste.
waste,
It's not-
Yeah.
Yes.
That's not called compost.
It also allows us, and I know Mr. Campbell will have a question about this in a second. Potentially, if the food waste removal goes very well, Ecology would be willing in our existing trash collection to remove this second trash collection on Fridays. This is, just an option. If the food waste removal is going very, very well in year 2 or 3 of this contract, it would give us the option to remove that second trash collection on Friday and offset it with the food waste collection. That is the one unique selling point that Ecology is able to provide us, is that you would not be able to do this with composting in addition to just the financial differences between the two proposals.
And in case it's not clear, and then we'll answer questions that sustainable, as representing Sustainable Kensington, we're recommending that we move forward with it.
And we would put together a resolution next month for that.
We would have 2 resolutions. One would be to enter into a contract agreement with Ecology for a food waste removal contract. It would be a 1-year contract with 3 1-year renews, based on probably the same thing we did with the trash. It basically would be tied to the CPI for the region. And then we would need a second resolution to acquire the toters because the toters are a separate contractor. For the record, the council did approve within the existing budget these funds. It is within the budget, and it is would be allocated directly towards a composting program. So.
Great. And the only thing I would note, in addition to moving forward with resolutions, we would need to come up with an education and outreach plan.
And Ecology has, they are very willing to work with us. There is a flyer. We probably need a little more information than that. So Ecology is basically the hauler in this. The facility over in Jessup, Maryland would actually be very, very involved. They've already communicated they were more than willing to come to a council meeting to meet with the public, to kind of get everyone in this kind of understanding of what can be taken and what cannot. So.
And they would provide literature that we could
Yes.
send out to the residents.
And it's mostly the same as what could be composted.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, it looked like it was.
I mean, Connor loves composting lint. I'm not sure if that's
I think you
possible,
can do it.
and cardboard too, but
Pencil shavings.
Paper was the one that.
yeah.
Just also note, we will continue to keep the snack shack, the compost bins at town hall. There is the possibility, depending on what happens, if we are able to acquire the M&T lot, that we could move it over there, which would be closer to the farmer's market, which would help out a number of our vendors. But we did renew that contract for 1 year, so we are not looking to remove that at least within the next 12 months.
Is that being used more?
It's being used by staff.
Well, I do see people go
Yeah.
back there dropping stuff off.
Yeah, I do know for a fact that we do have one resident that canceled their compost, which was not the intention in bringing it over here, but.
Right.
Only
Yeah, I
one
mean,
did that. I'm surprised.
that
only
I'm
one.
aware of, but I
Okay.
mean, no, I mean, Susan takes our composting out there.
Yeah.
Use.
No, I feel guilty that I don't do it now. I mean, thank you, Sustainable Kensington, because I do feel like I need to do it. And I think having it now come to my house and not adding it on as another expense,
Yep.
you know, in my budget, that, you know, I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So.
And
Okay.
this would be a town-wide, so every resident would receive a bin, so.
Is there a question?
I know there's gonna be
Yeah,
questions.
okay.
There's
I
one
want
more
the
thing I want
council
to
to
make sure
finish
Matt
first.
follows up with real quick. Can you ask Ecology if you already have a 13-gallon toter from Compost Crew, can it be used? So we save a little bit more money for those that already have.
I'm not sure they would take
So-
it. then.
What we would own, we would be acquiring the toter, so it would have our seal on it.
Okay,
And
They
it would have a
stay with the
serial number,
house.
so it'd be
Okay,
very similar
gotcha.
to our
Okay.
recycling toters.
just trying to think of saving a
Yeah,
little bit,
this-
even a little
yeah.
more money.
Yeah, I wonder
Yeah,
how many
because
of those there
we
are
would-
in town.
At
We would
least
then,
50,
Yeah.
probably.
we would then replace the toter if an issue happened, if it broke or.
Yeah.
Or someone,
Okay,
damaged
You
it.
could always give the option, you could have a sign up with residents and give the option to
Would
decline
Ecology
to
get,
use.
would they
That's
get
really-
confused though if they're picking up
Yeah.
one from
Oh,
Compost
I see what
Crew?
you're saying.
Yeah, that would be my
Compost Crew
concern.
comes through
Yeah,
town.
so
It's
the-
not to
yeah.
say we
Toters
couldn't
would
do
be
a
the
swap with
yeah.
another jurisdiction, like gather up,
Yeah.
swap out for ours, and then like, hey, town of Chevy's few, here are some.
Here's some
Sure.
extra ones.
Yeah.
yeah.
Of course, they'd store them in our garage, but
They would.
So,
they don't have a place to put anything.
Maybe College Park.
Okay. All right, any other questions from the council?
oh. Connor.
Did you have another question?
Nope, just wanted to say.
Anybody from the audience or online? Leslie, go ahead. I'm going to in person first.
Reward them being here.
All right, Leslie Olson, Wheatley. So I have Compost Crew right now, and I have a 7-gallon bin. There wasn't a charge. I'm really surprised they're charging for the bins because I don't think anyone who signed up had to pay for their bin. And there is a nice thing about that if you're not there, you can have them not pick up and you get a credit back. So, that makes a big difference. And the fee is 22. But when they first started, they had initially thought the more people they got, then the lower the rate. And I'm surprised also that if they get the whole town, it's the same thing as what we're we're paying now.
No, it's $8 per person.
No, you're talking about
No,
compost.
compost.
No,
Oh,
compost.
oh, I see.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
compost crew.
Okay.
So maybe, outside of the process is different. It's so easy. It's just right there. You mentioned 13
It's a
gallon.
13-gallon bin. Yeah, it's on wheels. I know that compost does have a.
It's, if you go by my house,
That's what
Leslie,
we
we've
have.
got
Okay.
like the little roller tote.
Okay, because the 7 is really good, and I know neighbors who are 4 and 5-person households have the 7 that seems to work. The county, in the proposal in the budget, it referenced a 35 gallon. And I know I have a sister who is now part of that county program. It's just very problematic because it's a huge container. And so
Yeah.
at least I'm glad to see that it's not near that size, because nobody's really keeping it in the garage. They're keeping it on a porch or underneath.
Right.
It's just, but so anyway, I've certainly enjoyed Compost Crew. So the bins, there are bags that they provide, or on both sides, or I know Compost Crew does, and so they would provide a bag on the ecology side.
There is a bag. That's something that I mentioned to the mayor. I do need to clarify with them. But there is a bag involved in this program as well. So.
Okay.
But I haven't clarified the distribution of the bag. So it would either be directly by them or I'm not sure. So I don't want to say something that's incorrect, but.
We get 2 rolls, which is good for, I don't know how many weeks they must be. And then when you run out, you contact them, but they stopped putting plastic in the bins themselves and just gave everybody.
It's not plastic, it's compostable
It's
bag,
compostable
which is
bag.
what we should also have.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And let's see, I think that was it.
Thank you.
So, but anyway, it's the cost of the bin that surprises me from Compost
Got
Crew.
it.
Yeah.
She raises a really good point that I'm glad that some people might live in smaller spaces and might not want a big bin. So is there an option that we could get a smaller bin for people to just choose what
So
they
we
want?
ran into this problem when we moved to single stream recycling. We did have a pushback from a number of residents, and we basically told them to keep the bin, and they found that they were using it. We would probably do this in the same situation.
But it's not the same as recycling, because many people, including us, we have to keep the bin inside of our house because raccoons will get in it, even if it's
You keep the compost bin in your house?
in the basement. Yeah, the big one.
Sorry.
It's right next to our composting worms. So
We don't have that issue.
but some people have run into that issue. So I'm just saying, if you're using it in your house,
So
maybe we're the only ones, but
I would say if there's residents that have that issue, I think we could work something
okay,
out.
good, thank you.
I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Figure something out.
I think the town is very good at working with people that may have a
Yes,
problem.
yes, yes.
So,
Great.
Joe?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Furman. So I was wondering if the town manager could just review for us the expenses that townspeople will have to shell out. I mean, there's the fee for the bin, there's a monthly fee. Could you just recap those fees that each household's going to have to
So
go up with?
the entire program would be absorbed within the general funds of the town. It was allocated within the budget. There will be no assessment or add-on taxation. This was budgeted and approved and requested by the council. This program will be part of your basic property, personal, everything that we bring into the general fund. There's no additional service fee. It's not like when you get your county tax bill where there's an addition on there for, if you're outside of town, you get a service fee for trash collection or something like that.
So in the taxes and other expenses that the town collects, townspeople would still have to pay for this service whether they use it or not. Is that correct?
Yes, correct, yes.
You can't tell us how much this comes to per month then,
He did.
per household.
It did. So the total contract for 1 year is $58,104.
Per household was my question.
No.
Divided by 600.
Yeah.
Which is what?
So the monthly rate is $8.07 per house per month.
Then how is the town going to know whether the townspeople favor ending that Friday pickup, which many of us rely on? and make use of. So, and it has had the effect, let me finish, it has the effect of enhancing public health and safety with that second pickup a month. And I'd hate to see that being eliminated without some sort of clear expression of the townspeople's support for this.
Okay. So I can tell you, we are not discussing removing the second trash collection tonight. We're just saying ecology is allowing the possibility that we could have that discussion. We do get dump tickets. We know how much trash is on the trash collections. It is a little bit difficult because they collect our trash with CCD on both Tuesdays and Fridays. So when we get the dump tickets, basically what we do is take 2/3 of the tonnage. If we see a drastic reduction on Fridays, we will know that it's working.
Yeah.
Obviously, if we were to remove it, the council would hold a public session and take comment, but we would see actual statistical results of the second collection.
Yeah, well, I mean, that second pickup is going to be smaller than the first because fewer days. It's 3 days instead of 4.
But we already know the current amount. So we'd be able to compare it to what we're already assessing on the dump ticket.
Yeah.
I thought you said 2 to 3 years there would be some determination, or that the contractor would be interested in dropping that second pickup on Fridays.
So if we notice a drastic reduction in the second collection on the dump ticket with the tonnage, it's something that the mayor and council would probably bring back to the community to potentially remove the second collection. Again, we're not advocating that tonight. What we're saying is that ecology is allowing us that option if we go there. So.
And what would a drastic reduction correspond to? I mean, what are you talking about specifically here? Can you quantify that for me?
No, I mean, obviously we would compare it to our existing dump tickets on the tonnage and see what the difference is. I mean, that's something we can discuss. Again, we're not advocating tonight. What it allows is an option to do that.
But you don't have a target then for what a drastic reduction would be.
I'd say anything above 35% would be favorable.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing we can also discuss with Sustainable Kensington. It did come up in our deliberation, and I think there is an expectation that if this food waste pickup is successful, you're going to see a decrease in the regular trash collection, and it would be very prudent to look at the cost benefits and trade-offs of having that second collection versus diverting the waste through the food waste pickup. So I think that looking at that, doing that analysis is certainly something that we would do.
35% then is the realm of a drastic reduction. That's what I was
mean, I think Matt threw that out as a number, but I'm saying we would want to look at the data and have a discussion about it and bring that back.
The reason why I mentioned that number is I have seen information from the transfer station that says that 35% of the tonnage in going to the incinerator is food waste. So I would at least start with that number unless something else becomes clearer. So.
I mean, that's the gold standard. If it's that much going right now, I think that would mean everyone's participating and all of the food is going. Yeah. So that's a very high target. I would not quote us on that target because I think it should be something that we bring back. If we are seeing something in the data, we'll bring it back and talk to the public about it. I don't think we have to set a number, Joe.
Yeah, no, it's very difficult to understand what these terms mean without attaching some quantification to them. So I think it's very helpful if the 35% is the target, then we kind of know what we're looking at. And that second trash pickup is been targeted, not directly, but it's sort of been out there as a potential target for quite some time. And I'm really concerned about that. I'd like to see that second pickup continue. And I know the town manager has said in the past that it's just not feasible if that second pickup is not feasible if we have a successful composting program. So we'll see. But I'm glad to know a little bit of the background here. I would like to see some data points, but I'm not asking for them right now. But I would like to see what the data show between the Tuesday and the Friday pickups, and then what the estimates are of food content in those streams.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Also, I don't, Jody, I'm sorry, your hand and the color of your wall match. You're muted.
I'll get the wall painted.
Okay.
Before the next meeting. So I don't know anything about food compost. I've never done it. I mean, so this totter thing is kept outside the house except at Nate's
Except for my house.
basement.
Yeah.
And it's covered. And what do you have inside the house to put your food waste
Good
in?
question. So it depends. So some people have a smaller bin. We have a smaller compost bin that's lined with compostable bags. And then we put it in there until it fills up, and then we put it in the bigger bin. Some people have a bowl. Some people they just put it directly into the big bin, regardless of whether they're keeping it inside their basement like I do. But the big bin is also lined with a compostable bag that would be given to us in some way in this program.
Okay, and then you bring that bin out to the street,
Just
out
like
to
the trash the night before, yeah.
And we having another day of pickup, or is this being done on Tuesday, like our other pickup? Is it done by the same truck? Is there another truck?
Not confirmed, yeah.
Yeah, we have not confirmed that. Obviously, we prefer Tuesday, but it potentially could be Friday. We don't have a contract yet, so they haven't worked out the teams. But we'll be able to bring that information very quickly, so.
And it's another truck?
Yes, it would be another truck, yes.
Okay, that's a lot of trucks coming through.
But we would also eliminate the trucks from compost crew. More or less. I think a lot of people, if you're being provided a service, like I'll just speak from my family. We are paying $22 a month for the 13-gallon toter. If the town were to go with ecology, we would stop compost crew and go with the town service. And so I think largely you would see the compost crew trucks, which come in the middle of the night. You never see them happening. Those would be eliminated from our roads.
Okay.
Or you make the second trash pickup.
I know we're not discussing Friday pickup, but apparently we are. How much does Friday pickup cost us a year?
So it's built into the contract, so they don't separate up necessarily the second contract. It's probably less than, well, I will say, I know it's less than what this food waste program would cost. If we were to remove it, we're probably looking at about $30,000.
30 a year, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm opposite of Joe. I'm very much in favor of getting rid of the Friday pickup. I think if we didn't have it, people would survive well on the Tuesday pickup, or they'd get a second trash can for the larger families. Okay, I think that's all my questions. And if people don't, you're buying these totters for everybody, but if we don't do it, you're still charged for the families that don't do it?
Yeah, so it would be a town-wide program. Obviously, as I kind of mentioned previously, we're anticipating this taking a year or two to really kind of get the community engaged. We struggle when we have the single stream recycling, and we gave everyone the larger toter. It took a while for everyone to participate in the single stream recycling. As I mentioned, we had a lot of residents that wanted to give the bins back. We refused to take them back, and eventually they saw their neighbors were doing it, and they became comfortable with the program. And this is a way, and I'll let Councilmember Lichter and Engel speak to it, but this is a way for us to bring a food waste program to the community at a reasonable price to get people comfortable and into the aspect and the motion of putting your food scraps into something else for collection, because Montgomery County will probably require us to do this at some point.
They're working towards
Yeah.
that. So yeah, we are going to end up having to do it regardless. I think what you said about, I've always thought, oh, well, if you're just throwing food, it's just going to go right back into the ground. It's not a big deal. It's not like plastic, but it is.
Mhm.
I mean, the methane gas is a really big deal. And,
And the
I don't,
space it takes too.
then the space it takes. And it's like, wow, okay, this is really important to do.
So instead of putting food down my garbage disposal, I'd be putting it into this.
You can still do that, but it's, you can do both.
Yeah.
And
Preferably put it through here, but yeah.
all food.
Yes, I think it's for the most part, yeah, except for fats and oils, I think they can't take.
Yeah, they don't allow restaurants to have garbage disposals anymore. You're not allowed to do that. There was a time that restaurants could have them. You can't anymore. But they threw that out like years ago.
God, you're taking rid of my garbage disposal, my gas oven, my gas stove. It's like,
That's why I didn't say that.
you
Didn't go away.
You can keep your dog though.
I thank you. No, so, okay, I think if it helps get rid of Friday pickup, I'm all in favor of
All right, thank you.
it. Thank you.
Darren, did you have a comment? You kept coming in there.
No, I mean, I think the Friday pickup is a different discussion. It has been on the table
It's
before.
kicked around
And
before,
we
yeah.
hear we hear from different people at different stages of their life. And I just remember, first of all, I think we're one of the unique, it's one of the things we do unique in this area. I know when I was a parent of young kids with dirty, smelly diapers, I appreciated that they were picked up twice a week. Now I don't feel the need to feed the trash trucks on Tuesdays if my can is only half full. So I'll wait until Friday. I don't want to confuse. I don't want to, link the decisions. I think we should be slow to give up the second collection, but if we add this, I think that's okay.
Okay. Good. All right, we exhausted this topic? We good?
Are you glad you stayed?
Oh, yeah. Where everybody keeps their compost bucket.
Well, we know where he keeps his.
Our back porch,
Okay.
and we put everything in a little bowl in the kitchen, and then we take it out there.
I just burn all my
There
There you
garbage.
go. We'll compare this to be part of the.
I just
the
burn my
public
garbage
education.
in a big barrel out back.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, well, thank you. And I feel we have a consensus about wanting Matt to come back with a resolution at the December meeting. Okay, thank you. All right, let's finish this particular area and do the audit committee acknowledgement. Matt or Susan?
Council, before you is a letter signed by Jeff Capron, Leslie Olson, and Carrie Thompson on behalf of the audit committee. For the year, financial statements ending June 30th, 2020.
Okay. I don't think we need to do anything with this. Is that correct? We're just acknowledging that it's done and everything is good. All right, any questions about the audit committee? Okay, don't see any, so we will move on. I'm gonna go ahead and since it's after 8:30, I'm gonna move public appearances up. If anyone has anything they would like to bring up that is not already on the agenda. Joe? Oh, sorry, I went with online first. Joe?
Thank you, Mayor Furman. I was just curious if anyone on the town government could give us an update about the whereabouts and when the statue of David Gregg is going to be restored to its place in the park across from the Methodist Church.
I know he is still at Public Works. He is getting new feet. They rotted out, so Jason is returning them. I think the crew right now is a little busy with leaf pickup. So hopefully he'll be back in maybe within a month. I'm not sure how far along he is, but leaf pickup right now is higher priority.
No one's arguing that.
Yes.
I'm just curious as to when it's likely his
Well, hopefully before the end of the year. I don't know how Jason's doing it, after work and maybe on the weekends, but this is Jason's piece of art and he will make sure it is returned.
Yeah, it's town art too.
Yes.
It's conspicuous by its absence too.
It is. I've actually had people concerned that we just got rid of him. He's just being repaired.
How long do you know how long it's been there? Is it 5 years now or?
He was
Not quite
put
that long?
in before he passed away. I think that picture that we had in the journal last month may have said when we installed it, but I don't remember.
2020, 2021.
Yeah, it may be on the Arts Walk on the website when it was installed. I'm not sure, Joe. It's at least 4 years old, I think.
Okay, I would guess that too. And just
Yeah.
finally, very quickly, I don't often agree with many of the observations of Councilmember Bartram, but I do want to say that I think he's right on target in saying that we should go slow with that Friday trash pickup. We should not we should not be abrupt in ending that, because I think he makes some very good points about different people in town at different times in their lives are going to be relying on that. And I think that was very well said. And I just want to be sure I mentioned that. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's move on to any reports that the council, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Leslie. You have to go up front. Sorry.
This is just a follow-up on an inquiry into a sign, a neon sign on the office building as it faces Wheatley. And I did notice that the town did approve a wall sign for another address along Kensington Parkway, because that office building actually has a Kensington Parkway address.
Is this the brick
But-
building, the nondescript brick building?
Yeah, and so there's another, it was posted, there's a different address than that office building that did receive approval for some kind of wall sign. And maybe my inquiry just got lost because it's this is.
Wait, Alex is going to answer your question.
I sent you an email and I asked if you could send a picture of it at night since we're not here when it's dark, and I didn't hear back. I should have called you.
Oh, I
sorry.
did send it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll check. Maybe it was my spam. I didn't see it,
Oh, okay.
but I'll double check.
Okay,
Sorry,
it
that's
didn't
my
show
fault.
up, the letters, because the camera didn't.
That's okay.
Take a clear
I just
picture.
wanted like a night vision.
Yeah, it was at night.
Okay,
I,
I'll take a look.
Okay,
Okay, thank
well, I'll go back and resend it. All
You're
right.
going to walk
thanks.
right by it. You can take another picture. Okay. All right, but you got work to do.
I can't stay here.
Sorry.
Take care, have a good
All
night.
right, thank you. All right,
okay.
so let's do some council, if you have anything you would like to bring up that's not on the agenda. Darren, anything?
I don't have anything.
Okay. And,
I have a few things to share.
okay,
I forgot last town council meeting to mention that in September I'd gone to an MML chapter meeting with the Housing and Community Development topic with Secretary Day.
yes.
And there were a couple of things there that are worth noting and that carry through to the MML meeting I attended last week. So during the meeting with Secretary Day, this was the end of September, he was noting that one of the biggest challenges the state is facing is a stagnant, declining economy. And one of the pressures there is that we're losing population. We have Maryland residents who are moving to Virginia, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, seeking higher quality of life, lower cost of living. Also, we have aging demographics, which means we have fewer people in the workforce. We have declining tax revenue from those two factors. And all of this is putting pressure on the budget, which leads to the next topic at the MML meeting. I attended the session with members from the legislature, as well as Governor Moore's legislative liaison, Eric Woodkey, and the head of MML to sort of get a preview of the state budget. And if those of you reading the news are aware that we are looking at a significant shortfall this year, and that shortfall is projected to grow into the billions in the coming years. There was discussion about whether the legislature would work with Municipal League again this year to preserve the highway use revenue that many municipalities, including us, rely on in our budget. While there was no firm commitment, there was an acknowledgement that they understand this is important to municipalities and that we'd be working together on that going forward. So only point this out to say that in that budget conversation, the same topic came up about aging demographics, the housing, the lack of housing, and the lack of available housing being a major driver and constraint as well. And so as we are thinking about our own budget projections in future years, we need to be doing that with the understanding that we're likely to see very constrained budget at the state level. There was also, I should say, a mention of uncertainty around the federal arena and the federal workforce and how that could impact state coffers and the state budget. So as we are thinking about our own planning, and often we think about the availability of bonds to pursue special projects, my hunch would be that path would be more constrained in future years. So I wanted to just pass that along. Otherwise, the MML meeting was worthwhile for the day that I was
Let's leave
there.
it on a positive note. Now that you brought us all down.
I will note, both Tracy and I sat in on a session about the use of AI.
Yeah, that was very
in
interesting.
government. That was very informative, and I know that I believe, Connor, you're
I'm in the midst
user.
I'm in the midst of an AI project for the government as we speak.
Various tools, so it's probably worth a conversation with town staff about how we could potentially use it to help with things like minutes and
postcards.
There are ways people are using it for website. Well, and Connor probably knows a lot more. So
I deal with it at a different level. Like Susan, we could honestly automate your minutes today. I mean, Zoom has
you
the
would still have
capability.
to review them.
Yeah, Zoom has the capability built in. It'll just give you.
No. This free, no.
Yeah. But
No, it's
anyways, there are a lot of areas where
we
it could
can
be.
have a greater.
I sat down at the meeting saying, we're so small, I'm not sure what they could do for us. And I left with, wow, there's a lot of things they could do for us. I thought it was really cool. Now, how we get there, I wasn't sure how we, because it's like everything else. How do I find the time to set aside in order to work with somebody to do this, get me up on the software that's required to do it? So it's just one of those things where, somebody calls you, keeps you on the phone for an hour, you're now an hour behind in what you need to do. Somebody comes in and wants to talk to you, now you're 2 hours behind on something that you need to do.
Right.
So it's trying to find that time
to save
to do it.
that you can do with higher
Yeah.
value.
So as an example, and I've talked about this, a lot of the attainable housing, right? There are multiple reports out that are hundreds of pages each.
Right.
And oftentimes I send you guys summaries that are, 2 pages. I've read the 100 and some odd, but I put it through AI. I actually have. And then I put it through AI, and that's what generates those summaries for you. And
Right.
usually I can have those summaries to you like a day or two after these reports are published,
Yeah.
so that we aren't days to
Nobody's gonna
weeks
read a
behind.
100
Right.
page report.
Here's the
Right.
real question.
Mhm.
How many of the questions you asked during the forum were generated by AI?
That weren't supplied by the public, 100% of them. Every single, so. Nate brings up a great, like, I put the entire attainable housing in there. I told it about our town, the demographics, where we are, the style of government that we have. And I asked it to generate questions that we would be concerned about. And it gave me a list, and I had it stop at 50. And I would say 45 of those questions
We're good.
were not only good, they were exactly the kind of things we wanted to be asking planning. And I was even more pleased with the fact that about 35 of them were asked by the public. So it shows you that it is very,
Yeah.
very useful.
Yeah. So more to come on that.
You're giving away all my secrets.
We just thought you were super smart.
And then I just want to share a brief update from the Greenscape Committee. We have met again at Ernest Park, this time with Mulherron, the town's arborist, to look at trees that either should be removed because they are dying or will eventually die a slow death because they shouldn't have been planted where they are to begin with, trees that could be trimmed, and one very large tree that could be removed because it is crowding out the many other trees. So we're going to get a quote on that. We'll bring, likely that's something we'd like to recommend doing that, and then get a fresh look at how to spruce up that park so that it can be a site of contemplation and beauty. Alex, were you going to say something?
The quote is signed, we're waiting on more trees yet.
Okay, all right, so it did come back, okay. And then also we're looking at Clem Kennedy and how to take care of,
Yes, we met, we met this morning and we talked about how we could hide the meter, the power meter, which is concern of many. And then the pole that we will be moving at, much to the chagrin of our public works guys, but things have to happen. And we got the blessing from Splain Security that he'll still be able to get the range in which, they need to for the park. So we feel good. Hopefully it's going to slow things down. but we'll have everything in place by the spring,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
And Connor, I'm gonna let you get the parking task force.
Yes.
We officially began the parking task force at the beginning of this fiscal year. And I put together a survey and a request for volunteers and sent that out a couple months ago and have been soliciting, volunteers to that. We got 10 great members. We've now communicated to them, and we are looking at our initial meeting date, the first week of December, right after Thanksgiving, either the 2nd or the 4th. Briefly, I alluded to it during the earlier discussions. The purpose of the task force is, we're having a byproduct of really good success along our commercial corridors, but also there's more cars, parked on the street. Sometimes they're blocking the aprons of residents. And so we are having some town and commercial district friction. And we decided that the task force could look at not just that, but across the entire town, exactly how cars are parked on street and off street. How are they time restricted? And then also start a discussion about whether or not a parking management system down the road would make sense for the town.
And this is townwide,
This
correct?
is townwide. So
Okay.
we, some of the things that Ann and I talked about that the committee will now help with is, we're going to build an inventory of what all the parking restrictions are. Where are you required to have a residential parking sticker for your car, and for what hours? And where is it time restricted to 4 hours or 2 hours or 15 minutes? And where do we have off-street parking and how many spaces? And is there EV stations there, and so we'll have this inventory. And it goes to the question that was brought up earlier about, the analysis. We will do this legwork in preparation for engaging a consultant around what is the right mix of parking. There's a lot of data and analysis around parking management systems, and the idea of actually having people pay for parking turns over spaces. And so we want to have all of this data collected, and we can put it into a GIS, which will also just benefit the town later if we want to have a discussion about changing the restrictions. We don't have to send poor Matt or Alex out on foot to be like, I got to check the signs. We will, you just check the website and we'll have all that. So, but that we've got a mix of business representatives from the business community, as well as residents from north, south, east and west of the town. And we will kind of kick off our initial work the first week of December.
Have we gotten a consultant or is that
Not
gonna be
yet.
part of it?
That
Okay.
it will be a part of it. We have not yet. I know the town has used some previous.
We've used Soltez previously. That was many, many years ago. We don't need to use them again. We can put an RFP out,
But
Yeah.
part of it is, gathering the data, and then part of it is scoping what we want the consultant to do.
Okay, because I really think, Crossroads of Kensington is probably going to open in the spring. That's going to bring a lot of,
Yep.
more cars to the north side of town,
Mhm.
which, I think people that right now don't have people that are going to businesses parking in front of their house might feel that at
Yes.
some point.
Yep.
So these are things that we really want to be
We,
up on.
in preparation and asking some questions to parking planning, they have also volunteered that, their parking personnel, they'd be happy to assist as well, right? And so they may be a great resource to help us shape the kind of questions and ideas that need to go into an RFP or, for a consultant.
Does a consultant help with parking districts? How to set those up?
Yeah, I believe if we were to ask them, but the county has a whole parking districts team I've talked to. I think his name is Jason. And he has very strong thoughts, data-driven thoughts around, how close they have to be beneficial. There's generally this idea of around like a 500-foot walking threshold. If anything beyond 500 feet, people won't park there. And so that's
Right.
why, going back to the M&T discussion, why we looked at that specifically is being so centrally located in the commercial district, it can benefit all the way down to the Johnson Shopping Center and all the way down to Safeway and everything in between.
And those cars that are parked on Kensington Parkway and on Montgomery specifically, and they're parked all the way down to Kent Street
Yeah.
on Kensington Parkway.
Mhm.
All of those cars could fit into that parking lot
Yes.
and really free up residential parking.
Yep.
So the only reason I asked on the public parking district is I'm yet to understand what is the benefit of, say, one of the dentist,
Mhm.
what is her benefit from allowing us to use her parking after
Yeah.
hours? That's the thing I've never quite
And I've
gotten a good
talked-
answer
I
from.
talked to Dr. Hill specifically about that. I don't think the
Were you
conversation she was
having your-
expecting, well, she was cleaning my
Cleaning
teeth.
your teeth?
You know, she was all for it because she's like, after 4:30, I'm not here, and she's not an emergency dentist, so she's like, when I'm gone, like, yeah.
So she'd be interested in,
However, comma,
oh,
she then brought it up to her attorneys, and they're like, whoa, liability.
yeah,
Right, so the point is, if we were to look at these public shared parking districts where we try to engage off-street lot owners to let their property be used after hours, that's part of the discussion we want to have through the task force with different business and property owners is, one, would you do it? Two, you know, if we, the town, were to control that, so, you know, if there's signage, if there's things that tell
Park
you
at your
what
own
hours, we
risk.
would, yeah, we would, you know, print the signs and have them there, we would manage, you know, if you've got a complaint, it would come to the town. But her thing was also, you know, liability, if, who covers what happens?
right.
What if two cars running into each other in this lot after hours? When it's being used, you know, so those are questions we don't have
That's
answers
why
to.
I've always
Yeah.
wondered
But the
how the
consultant will
benefit.
have
Yeah, I was
answers
gonna say,
to
there
all
are
these
people who
questions, yeah.
specialize in
Okay,
this.
well, that's really important, because I've never quite figured it out, what the benefit was. Okay,
Question,
sorry,
just
yeah.
a real quick question. How long are you thinking it would take to come to any conclusions? I know you haven't met as a
Oh.
committee yet, but. what are your-
Yeah,
what are
I
your
mean, part of it
predictions?
is how we scope it. And then part is,
How fast the consultant.
we would have to write an RFP, we have to put out an RFP, we'd have to get the consultant. I mean, it's, you know,
A year?
we are taking this as, we are in charge of this from now through June 30th.
Because of the council.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then
Do as much as you can.
at June 30th, right?
Which is, yeah.
Before that, we will present where we're at with things, and then it may be that it continues for another year, and
But we asked in the nomination application form for availability through June.
Okay,
at
gotcha.
least.
And will those people, just out of curiosity, you don't say it now, but will they be posted in like who's participating in that in the town journal at some point?
yeah,
Something?
I've sent the
Okay.
list to Alex, and
Okay,
we will
cool.
send it around.
Good to see.
Yeah, journal, there won't be another journal till February, so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I can read them off, and they can go in the minutes.
We
Not-
can add them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
I'll
add.
just add them. to-
Great,
Okay,
great work.
all right, anything else? We good? Oh, I meant from you two.
No, I'm done.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have two quick things. The MTC and PBAS meeting, the next one is on Monday. And what we're gonna do is, this could be more like PBAS related stuff, so the next one will be MTC, Matt, so we'll wanna make sure that those issues are probably for January.
Okay.
But we're gonna be talking, we're gonna kick off our walkability, bikeability audit, which is the thing that we do every 2 years to identify areas for improvement. I do wanna spend just a minute to recap really quickly on the Walktober event
Mhm.
that we had. It was our 4th annual Walktober event a few weeks ago. It was absolutely a perfect day.
It was a perfect
It
day.
was- I think it was the first time you weren't able to.
I know,
join,
I'm sorry I missed it.
unfortunately, because it was the biggest, I think the most dynamic that we've had since we've started it. We had over 40 people participate.
And you had some good people
We had-
come out
Yeah,
too.
we had Councilmember Evan Glass
Mhm.
joined, and the Cheng Yu, our new district engineer, District 3 engineer for SHA.
Mhm.
She just started. Essentially, we had a meeting with her, and then our first meeting with SHA, quarterly meeting with her, invited her during the meeting.
And she came, yeah.
So it was great because she could see where the improvements were needed and
perfect.
could see like really tangibly what we were talking about.
Have you heard from her since?
Yeah, I have not, but I wrote to her. Actually, she wrote to us right afterwards, but
Good.
with not the information we were asking for, but that's okay.
That's
You
okay.
know, it's a good step in the right direction. We had 15 businesses participate in the coupon voucher program, which is really the most we've had also. So I want to thank Kensington Can and Tyler Whitmore for support in that effort. We established what I think will hopefully be an ongoing partnership with Carmen's, where we split the treating them, whoever stayed, they got a ticket to use at that exact moment at Carmen's, that we split the cost with them, and they were very happy to participate. in that. And we had, and I just wanted to say thanks to Alex and Matt also. And last but not least, the people on the working group who really led all of this, and I think really stepped it up a notch and set a good precedent for future years, were Allison Derlin, Marla Hollander, Carol O'Toole, Michael Lyons, and Alan Simon. That's it.
Great. Okay.
Quick things. First, just big thanks to town crew for Halloween, again, dropping road closure barriers and everything. It really does make the walkability and safety from Scary Perry all the way down to St. Paul Park. I mean, as somebody who gathered a lot of input from a lot of parents, everybody is so thankful. It just works so well. I hear there might be a petition to save the cat. There's a house that's getting rid of an inflatable. We'll go into that. Next, the Attainable Housing Strategies Q&A forum that we had. I know, big thanks to staff for helping to get it all set up, messaging, coordinating with parking planning for their participation. Thank you to parking planning staff for their participation. Thank you to Mayor Tracy for getting all of the sound and audiovisual set up. I thought it went extremely well. I really appreciate that every member of the town council was there. I really appreciated the questions from our community. I have watched a number of these in preparation in other parts of the county. They were tense and there was vitriol, and ours was very different. And I really appreciated that it allowed for the opportunity for as many questions as we could fit in, and as opposed to just being a listening session, that planning staff worked to answer them as best as possible and actually inform people about what the words in these reports.
Well, I think it helped having Mr. Hendricks there, who was a planning board member. I think it helped very much having him there.
And then a quick shout out to the crew. Leaf cleanup, as far as I can see on the north side, is going great. I would love their feedback.
Leaves help.
Well, I was just gonna say, we just had a little bit of rain and we have some battery powered equipment. So at the end of the season, I'd like to hear what the impact has been. But dry leaves do help.
Well, the packs are, if you have both packs on, it's 40 pounds, additional 40 pounds. Carrying that thing.
And I talked to the county's crew when they were doing cabin park. I think their packs are bigger. They said it's like 65 pounds when they have both batteries. And so now the one gentleman joked, he's like, they tell me they did this for my health because of sound.
Now my back's
but now my back hurts.
Yeah.
And this sounds not actually.
Yeah.
It was a very, direct, blunt statement. He's like, here's that problem I didn't have before, but like this vibrating pack with 65 pounds that I'm wearing until it dies. And then I've got 2 more on he's like, the days feel longer now. It was an interesting soundbite.
Yeah.
And then last is the mayor and I have been participating with 10 other municipalities in working on some proposed amended language to section 20-509 of the state land use code, which is where we get our authority to regulate single family districts. And with the publication of the attainable housing strategies and some talk around how it may be implemented and may be implemented through ZTAs, there's a reality that it may strip municipalities of our municipal code regulations, because as it's written today, the land use provision is written specifically to name that we can control single family residential homes, buildings, and other structures. But if they introduce the use of multifamily, duplex, triplex, quadplex into the R zoned areas, then the ambiguity is, does that strip us from our ability to regulate those zones because they're no longer solely single family? So we've been working with Delegate Jared Solomon from District 18, who's done a terrific job to work it through the Montgomery County delegation. There were other concerns that I won't be too labored on, but Kensington and Tacoma Park all of a sudden create a new issue that has arisen, which is that we have other than our zoned properties within our residential areas. We have CRN and we have CRT. And the way that the county has alluded to, but there is no legislation on, but alluded to how a ZTA may work is, hey, the fastest way to do this is to amend what uses in the R zones, like R60, which is predominantly what we are in town, to amend the uses from single family to any residential use, single or multi, meaning up to a duplex, triplex, quadplex, and then if you're in a growth corridor, up to medium scale, which is 19 units. That becomes an issue because our code currently says that we can regulate within the residential areas, and like the height restriction for ours is 2.5 stories. But for the optional method, medium scale, they're supposed to be able to go to 4.5 stories, and nobody knows how the words collide, right? Do we have that authority? Do we not? It's not something we are necessarily looking for, but it threw another wrench in. They did get to some proposed language that allowed the drafting of the bill to get submitted to the Montgomery County
And that's the one they
delegation.
sent out to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's just with the Montgomery County delegation. They're working through it. If there are questions, they'll work on it before. The plan is that hopefully it will go into the local bill section of the state legislature process when that opens for 2025.
Yeah, we're meeting on the 19th, I
Mhm.
think. And I know was some issues with some of the delegates in Tacoma Park. One of your favorites there in Tacoma Park. You know, they got some feedback, and they think the Attorney General said we didn't even need to bother. I think that
So
was his
there-
reading on that.
Yeah, so again, the governor had a bill that came out last year that dealt with attainability and affordability and talked to districts with single-family homes, but Montgomery County at large is unique in that we permit residential structures within all of the zones except for the industrial zone. And by virtue of the fact that we do that, it exempted us from how the state bill was written. So that state bill doesn't apply to the Montgomery County at all, or any jurisdictions they're in. So these are all, I mean, all of these layers
Lot
are
of
kind of
moving
coming
parts here.
together
Yeah.
and we're trying to, trying to figure this out now with a state legislative process that is 90 days and starts, just after the new year. So that it's not a reaction to a ZTA that everybody, so that county council members are aware of this and they're tracking it. The state delegation is supporting it. And then, 11 of the Montgomery County municipalities, not all are there. Partially one, Tacoma Park is still figuring out what they want to do. And the other ones that aren't there is largely because they have their own separate zoning authority. So it really doesn't apply to that.
Yeah, I think there's 14 of us that don't have zoning
Mhm.
authority.
So.
Tacoma Park being the largest.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is it for me.
Okay. Only got a couple of things. I do want to, this is particularly for Connor and Nate. We are going to meet with Chris Conklin and Kate
Okay.
Stewart's office.
Okay.
If you can make it, the meeting is November 25th at 2:30. It will be on Zoom or Teams. Matt will forward out the information, the Summit Avenue extension. Make sure that they've got that rolling along.
What time is it?
2:30 on the 25th, if you're able to make it.
Yeah.
I want to remind everybody, if you're available tomorrow night, Kensington Ken is having basically their holiday party tomorrow. From 6 to 8 here at Town Hall, if you're available, just to stop by for a few minutes. So this is for Kensington Ken and the business community. So also I did attend the Pepco Streetlight meeting on Tuesday. Quite enlightening, sorry.
Yeah.
I know. Sue Ellen was on the call. She had a lot of questions. And so I think at some point we'll need to sit down with Sue Ellen once they're kind of introducing this whole new group that's dealing with streetlights with municipalities.
They've developed their own division.
Yeah, they now have a division for this. And there's like umpteen things that you can choose from at different costs and it's like the a la carte. And so it's very confusing. So, at some point, if there's any thought to whether we want to, add buying streetlights to our expenses, we'll need to sit down with Sue Ellen and fully understand, what this is. You can swap out the Cobras for the teardrops, but those are a different cost. And I know Andy Harney at, Section 5 is concerned about the fact that they don't dim, which, somebody doesn't want, maybe one is bright. So, that was a big question that she had about that. And, Shayna, of course, from, the village has always great questions. So she asked and looking for answers too. Most of it was, we'll get back to you. So anyway, so that's moving along. Also, we'll talk about, we're gonna need to, look at setting, a closed session meeting before Thanksgiving with Sue Ellen to talk Matt and Sue Ellen are meeting with, planning tomorrow, and, with the flats people. So we're gonna need to get a follow-up from Sue Ellen, before Thanksgiving. And then I know Nate is traveling at the December meeting, so we want to look at the calendars too and see if we can move the meeting from the 11th to somewhere after that. So let's do that before we close. Okay. So let's just keep plugging along here. Anything else? Good. All right. Go ahead with the Hadley Place storm.
Hey, real quick, we missed on the agenda, just to confirm, we did hold the closed session on October 21st, 2024. I mean, we approved the minutes, but we
didn't acknowledge that we did. Okay.
We have, for Hadley Place Storm Drain Project, this is one of the primary storm drain projects we're working on with regards to the ARPA funds. We've had the engineering for a while now. We kind of had some communications with the engineering team over at Brutus to kind of figure out what we can do, and what we could actually build and design. We have finalized the plan. It will include, which was not the original intent or design, but we are going to basically put in a storm drain, create a bypass that is not there now that will connect, if you're familiar with Mitchell Tart's property on Carroll Place, we'll run from Mitchell Tart's property down, we'll go east, go to Hadley, go south to Hadley and connect into the 54-inch storm drain on Washington Street. It's 520 linear feet storm drain. It will have a capacity of 12,000 gallons of water. We are essentially creating an underground containment system in the street that will hold 12,000 gallons of water, which we were not planning to do, and it kind of just happened. In addition to that, we'll be replacing the 21-inch terracotta pipe that runs between the two Hadley properties and goes up past Mitchell Tart's property and east of where Harley Higgins used to live. We'll be replacing that with a 24-inch pipe. We're going to actually change the location a little bit to run it down the property lines. There's an issue on Mr. Tart's property where the existing terracotta pipe runs against his foundation. We're going to move it away, and then we're going to be able to run it out to Washington Street. We're using an existing easement, so we're pretty happy about that. We got kind of lucky, and we hope to start this before the end of the calendar year.
Matt, can you send out the picture you showed me today of where those are coming from to the council and maybe include them on the email you send out tomorrow?
Sure.
As part of the package.
We do have one resident we need to talk to that we were not planning on this. Their front yard is going to be dug up quite a bit. We do need to talk to them, just kind of get them to understand what we're trying to do. So I do want to talk to them, just have them understand the significance of this, what it would do for the drainage. On the drainage report that we got back from Brutus, there is an inlet on Mr. Tart's property that is accumulating 5 acres worth of water.
What?
Yes.
Accumulating or catching?
It's capturing 5 acres worth of water in a little inlet about that big. So we are basically abandoning that. That's the terracotta pipe that runs between the back of the properties, and the new storm drain that we'll be installing out on Carroll to run down Hadley will capture all that water.
Wow.
So it was eye-opening, to say the least. This was not the initial plan on the response from Brutus and the engineering team, but we were kind of we could not increase the size of the pipe along Washington Street. we didn't have the room based on the existing utilities, and we didn't have the money. So this plan kind of came about after the initial report. So we're pretty happy with it. And like I said, we'll move forward with that, and we're waiting on the final reports for St. Paul Street. We have the initial report on that. We're waiting for them on the west side drainage. We have the east side report, which basically runs on the east side of St. Paul up McComas. We will need to work with Montgomery County Department of Transportation on that project. McComas is a county road, but that would definitely alleviate the amount of water. If you've seen the videos coming off of Kensington Heights Park, coming down McComas, that are affecting some of the residents, specifically like the Zellmeyers and Lucille, and down St. Paul Street. So we should have that in the next few weeks. So
Okay. Any questions from the council? Any questions from the audience on stormwater? Okay, all right, let's move down to,
Real quick one.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, and I thought maybe you'd bring it up in your report. Did you want to touch on the open house at all from Warner Circle
Oh,
from last week?
oh, sure, yeah, sorry. There's a lot going on. Yeah, we all, Darren, did you ever make it down? You didn't make it? Too bad. Yeah, last Friday, Carl Vogelmeyer held an open house at Warner Circle. And Alex and Matt went, and Connor, Nate, myself, and Ann also attended. And it was great. It was really cool to see taken all the way back to the studs and how they're starting to arrange the walls. And if you go down into the lower level, the amount of stone was impressive of what this house has been sitting on as they take out certain walls in order, because there will be, I think every apartment except for one in the carriage will be a 3-story, but otherwise all the other apartments will be 2-story. And it's just really cool to see how this thing is being laid out. And there's tons of people, you guys missed them, but Connor and I went in the beginning. And a lot of people from parks were there. They were very excited. Julie Mueller was there.
Yeah.
She was very, poor thing. Anyway, so she's just thrilled. So it was really, really exciting to see this. And I'm sure as we go along, Carl will have additional tours available to the council and possibly to the public as he gets a little further along. But yeah, everything so far, knock on wood, has been moving along, and he permits are coming up, to continue on the work. So he hopes to have people moving in December 2025. That's his goal. Yeah. So, cool. All right. Sorry, Matt. Go ahead with number 2.
So I kind of touched on St. Paul Street. So we'll have that. We like I mentioned, we do have to work with MCDOT, but we'll probably have the same issue that we had with the Hadley place. The engineers design something, and then once you start digging, you change it, and that's really what happened on Hadley. We didn't have the room with the utilities, and we know that's going to happen.
Was that on Hadley or Washington?
Well, the issue was Washington for them.
Right.
The 54 pipe could not be expanded to 50. I'm sorry, the 54-inch pipe could not be expanded to a 60-inch pipe because we did not have the room in the road with the other utilities.
Right.
And I think this actually is going to work out better because basically it's allowing a containment system within the storm drain network to capture more water than we thought we could in the first place. So I would say on a project that's taken us 4 years, might be a benefit. I don't know. There is the Farragut Avenue project that's kind of on hold right now. We have the Washington gas line issue. The Brutus team wants to finish up St. Paul Street. We'll send something out to everyone on Farragut Avenue, just kind of let them know where we're at on that. But that has kind of been pushed a little bit. And we'll kind of follow back up with everyone on Farragut Avenue.
Okay.
You're ready for ordinances?
I am ready for ordinance resolutions and regulations. Let's go.
The town staff's favorite ordinance resolution every year. Resolution number R-22-2024, resolution of the mayor and town council of Kensington proclaiming November to be Municipal Government Works Month in Kensington.
Is this the one where I watch the flag? Is it the flag?
Yeah, so we get
Mayor got to
points
watch
for
the
that.
flag. Cool. Any questions about this? Council, audience?
This gets us that flag.
Okay, can we get a motion to approve?
I move that we approve resolution number R 22 2024 to proclaim November to be Municipal Government Works Month.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Woo-hoo. All right. Okay, so the last thing we need to do before we adjourn is open up your calendars and let's look at meeting within the week before Thanksgiving, or just any time between now and Thanksgiving. So
I'm out of town next week.
all of next week?
I leave the 20th, but it might be challenging for me to meet before then.
Okay,
So what about the 25th, 6th or 7th?
I'm okay with this.
I can do,
Yeah, prefer not Wednesday.
yeah,
we do
25.
25 or 26?
sure. The 20, yeah, I don't travel. If 26 would have to be earlier in the day, we're flying out. 5.
We do 26th.
We could do in the morning. I mean, we have to check with Sue Ellen on this too, but
Mhm.
so 25, is it okay?
Yeah, other than the meeting on Summit Avenue,
Okay,
which is 2:30 to 3:30.
okay,
That's on the 25th, yeah.
yeah.
Correct. And then 26 up until like,
So we could meet the morning of the 25th and the morning of the 26th.
mhm.
Let's try to do that, and we can do it by Zoom or Teams, whichever one. That,
This would be a closed session.
yes,
And would next week, could you do anything by Zoom?
Potentially Tuesday noon. But I'll be facilitating all day meetings. the
You
rest of the
don't,
week,
yeah,
so
let's
step
look
away.
at that.
yeah, let's just look for the 25th or the 26th.
Should we ask, and we'll ask Sue
Is
Ellen.
anybody available this Friday? They're meeting tomorrow.
Who?
The Matt and Sue Ellen are meeting with planning and Tom tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm available. Let's try.
You want to check with Sue Ellen if Friday's a possibility?
Other than 2:00.
And for me, it's other than noon, I'm available.
So Friday morning,
Friday morning,
like,
is that a possibility?
Yep.
9?
Oh,
Or
hold on. Nate's
Friday
looking.
I have a kid's doctor appointment. And it's Zoom, right?
True.
I mean, 8:30 and 10:30 don't work.
Can you do the afternoon? Like my meeting
Yeah.
at 2, I can't move, but it's only a half hour. So I could do after 2:30 too.
Yeah, we can't do 1:30, 2:30 on Friday.
I have something here, but, oh, yeah, committee,
We go to Stone Ridge.
Stone Ridge, oh, that's right, yeah, no.
Yeah, so somewhere like or midday. Friday.
I cannot do
It-
noon.
she did not
on
do noon.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, between
Sorry.
10:30 and noon sometime.
I could
That's
do
good.
that.
Or after 2:30.
Yeah,
I could do between 2:30 and 4 or 10:30 and noon.
Okay.
there you go.
All right, so 10:30 and noon,
Darren, you're not shouting, are you good?
Oh, that's good.
That's not good, or?
No,
is-
those are good.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
10:30 and noon, what was the
And
second one?
2:30 to 4
For this one.
for this Friday, the 15th.
Okay, I will check with Sue Ellen and let everyone.
And then
know
we have the
if need be.
25th or the 26th in the morning. Okay. All right, cool. All right, now, Nate is traveling in December and is going out of the country.
Yeah,
You'll be back on the 12th,
I
but
will be back, yeah, the night of the 12th.
the night at the 12th. So we're wondering if we could accommodate his absence, because we'd be voting on the food thing.
Oh, yeah, well,
Be there for that, wouldn't you?
well,
Well, either the 18th or possibly Monday, the 16th.
I could make both work.
Yeah.
Will the timing of that affect anything we decide on that needs public comment period for the January meeting?
For the composting or?
That's just a
Then it
resolution.
wouldn't get 30
Anything.
days.
Anything that we.
Oh, if we move forward with an ordinance? Yeah.
So we'd have to shift January's meeting.
Could we possibly do it the first week in December instead? That would give us.
On the
extra time.
fourth?
Box thinking here, Darren.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I could do. I don't leave until the 6th.
Oh, okay. I was thinking you were leaving like the first.
We may, I don't know what the parking task force
Well,
are that we're looking at. We were looking at the.
Oh,
second, fourth. We
yeah,
just haven't
second
tallied
or
the-
fourth,
we haven't
yeah.
tallied the
But that would
results.
be
kinda nice 'cause it
evening,
gets the-
probably.
We have so many
Right.
events in
Oh,
December.
right.
This would
we got
be-
a lot of
oh,
it.
yeah,
We're
this would
talking
be
about a
council.
town council meeting.
And do we have our
So,
tree lighting planned yet?
so I will say, if we were to move forward with an ordinance for Joseph Park, it's gonna take us a little bit of time to draft that. So maybe January would be a better time to introduce it.
So it wouldn't matter as much.
So let's maybe take that off the table.
Okay.
Well, and you have to send out.
Yeah, I mean,
notices
cause,
and-
well,
Well, the hearing would
But
be the
issue,
following.
the issue would be, we are anticipating, that Sue Ellen will be quite busy with us with regards to the Flats project. So her drafting a potential ordinance may not be, she may not have the time. And it's heading into the holiday season, maybe we look at January if we decide to move forward with an ordinance.
Okay.
Kind of just keeps things a little bit cleaner for staff and. Gives us a
Yeah, I
little
mean, I
bit of
think
time
the
to think
flats
about
right
what-
now is something we have to deal with
Yeah,
right
the
away.
flats is going to be an issue for us immediately,
Right,
as of tomorrow.
yeah, okay. So, yeah, let's see if
For
we
the
can meet with
16th?
the,
For the 18th or town council meeting.
yeah, I would think either Monday, the 16th or the 18th. I mean, you can keep it on a Wednesday or we can keep it on a,
What does town staff, do you have a preference?
Matt was worried about a Monday meeting, but I said, hey, you've got 3 more days.
My preference is always Wednesday, but, you know, I'll defer to Alex and Susan. We like Wednesday, gives us a little more time to prep.
I'm fine with Wednesday. You want to do, everybody okay with Wednesday, the 18th?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep, thank you.
yep.
Mm-mm-mm.
Hey, if we can do this for volleyball, we can do this for
Yes.
work.
Thank you for your flexibility.
Okay, December, I'd rather have everybody here possible. Okay. All right, great. Okay, well, geez. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll
And
move
we're
to
in
adjourn.
person, sorry, we're in person, it's still in December.
We'll be in person. So we're gonna move to adjourn? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank